called life. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic morning this morning. Hope you're making the best of it all, having some fun, living life the way that you should, being the best person that you can be. So welcome into the broadcast. Happy Tuesday. And I'm very excited to get into a lot of great things that we have. Thank you for your patience this morning as we got everything set and ready to go here in studios. It is good to be back home. So, been out I spent most of last week and in Charlotte, North Carolina for the ACC Kickoff, and then came back this week and immediately went on and did a broadcast on site on location when we did a broadcast, like I was saying, on site on location from the wonderful Cafe Kubal that is located on 324 West Water Street at the Creekwalk Commons in Syracuse, New York. So we had a fantastic time. We were, just obviously enjoying life, having a great time out there. But being in Charlotte and then being, it's been a little bit since we've been here in studio with you. So we're happy to be back in studio. We love being at Cafe Kubal. We love being out at in Charlotte as well. So definitely appreciate it all. Thankful for it all. Looking forward to doing it all again very soon. And always grateful for the time. So I want to thank the Atlantic Coast Conference for having me again, and I want to definitely thank the wonderful city of Charlotte for having me again. I want to thank the state of North Carolina, which is one of my favorite places to travel to, and would like to definitely send my love and appreciation out to the wonderful people at PBKW Comics, as we'll be doing a comic book trails series in connection with them, and I'm very excited to be sharing that with you. So our comic book trails will continue on from there, and we have some really cool things coming up. So definitely looking forward to sharing all that with you here where sports meets that thing called life. So very much looking forward to that, and we will definitely keep you posted on when that's going to happen. So a lot of great stuff happening on Wake Up Call, on comic book trails in general, and, of course, while we were out there at the ACC, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. 10 years in business. Crazy. 10 years, and counting. And it's, it's a beautiful thing. 10 years of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, LLC, has been in existence. I am eternally grateful to God and just so blessed to be here doing what I love and loving what I do, and on top of all of that, doing it with my name on the door, and I genuinely don't have enough words to say thank you and how much I appreciate the fact that, hard work, dedication, determination, and a God that is unwavering and just beautiful helped me to have the life that I have today. A great God, hard work, dedication, belief in oneself, it's just faith and just getting out there and doing it. So, I'm very, very much happy to have a 10-year anniversary here for Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. We're going to have to do something for this, something cool, something fun, because I was, in Charlotte covering the ACC and doing interviews all day, which I absolutely love. And we didn't, have a celebration. So we'll have to have a celebration. So we'll be doing that hopefully sometime soon. But I do want to thank you for being a part of the show every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You know what it is. YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com are all /WakeUpCallDT. And we appreciate you being here where sports meets that thing called life. You're also with us on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT and on our homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com. So however you're connecting with the show, we thank you so much for being a part of it. Truly appreciate you, and hope you're, once again, like I said before, having a fantastic day today and a wonderful morning. And if you're not, we're going to make it better. And if you are, we're going to make it better. So much appreciate everybody that's here with us where sports meets that thing called life. We got a jam-packed show coming up for you, and I'm ecstatic to bring you this show. We're going to have a lot of fun here, and we're just going to be starting the conversation, barely scratching the surface, because there's a lot to unpack, a lot to get into, and my interviews with every single one of the 14 coaches inside of the ACC from all over their wonderful conference. I will have the opportunity to share those with you. I also spoke with student athletes from all 14 member schools of the ACC. So you're going to hear from the student athletes, you're going to hear from the head coaches, you're also going to hear from the commissioner of the ACC, Jim Phillips, in my question that I posed to him as well. So there's a lot of great stuff coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora over the next couple weeks here. We have a lot of wonderful things to share with you when it comes to the ACC, and I'm going to be getting myself involved with the American Athletic Conference, as I always do, as they have their virtual media days. So I got a lot of stuff coming up in the background, a lot of stuff coming up in the foreground, and we have a lot of stuff to discuss overall here where sports meets that thing called life. So thanks for hanging out with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as we are going to get into a lot of different things with the ACC, a lot of stuff that went on. So inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', we will today start off the show with what I'm calling ACC Kickoff Reaction, self-explanatory and simple and easy to remember. ACC Kickoff Reaction, AKR, is what we're going to be talking about here. And then at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, about a half an hour from now, you're going to have the opportunity to hear the exclusive conversation with Aaron Hackett about his time at Syracuse and why he left the program, how it all actually went down. He's going to tell his story this morning. So the true story of how he didn't just transfer out of Syracuse, but was essentially pushed out. And we'll talk about that, what that has done, and how that's affected him to this day, how it affected where he was able to transfer to, how it affected the fact that he couldn't play for TCU, and how, now he's paying for his education. So the background story that you don't always hear with the student athletes is going to be told today from Aaron Hackett, a true life story of what is actually going on and has gone on, and something that he's willing to share with us today, which I'm so grateful that he's taking the time to do that, and also taking the time to continue to show love for Syracuse University and appreciation for Syracuse University as he gets set here to help out student athletes every single day. And he's got a great thing he's doing with postgame now. He's going to talk about name, image, and likeness and working for a company that helps with name, image, and likeness, and how he believes you can do name, image, and likeness the right way. So a lot of great stuff coming up where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I'm very, very excited to bring that story to you at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. And then we'll finish off, as we do every Tuesday, with the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, where we're going to be tonight. Very excited about this opportunity and what's going to go on, and very much looking forward to being there tonight on site, on location for our Liverpool Leadership Lounge. Say that 3 times fast. Liverpool Leadership Lounge, Liverpool Leadership Lounge, Liverpool Leadership Lounge. Did it. So you can go and see us tonight at 6 p.m. for those of you that are curious about what's going on at Liverpool High School and in the community. And definitely a great conversation. Love having it every single year. And very excited for the guests that we're going to have on site, on location tonight at Avicolli's. So come see us tonight, July 26th at 6 p.m. And we'll have some fun where sports meets that thing called life. So definitely don't miss out on the opportunity to be a part of that. We look forward to seeing you tonight, and very much looking forward to the conversation. So a lot of great stuff coming up. Very excited to talk about it. So let's hop right in to the ACC and what's going on with the ACC. ACC Kickoff Reaction, my comments and thoughts on the ACC and what's going on. So definitely taking a look at this, and around it, what I had said going into it, of course, was the fact that I felt that the ACC, the worst action is inaction. And I still feel that way. I still very much feel that way, that the worst action is inaction. And so, have they expanded? No. But I did ask the question to the commissioner, and, did have the opportunity to speak with him on that. And we're going to showcase that in our ACC coverage, so you'll be able to actually see the moment that all of that happened. But we can definitely get into it today and speak on it a little bit here this morning, because I think it's imperative that we do. I think it's very, very important that we talk about that, because that's something that has, obviously become very vital here, and, in looking at what's going on, and, how do we move forward, right? How do we go about what's happened, and where do we go from here? So, I think that it's incredibly important to look at the words from the commissioner, Jim Phillips, as to, where we stand on everything. And so having the opportunity to ask him about that is very important to me. And so, I had that chance. And so as we look at this, I did get to ask him about this, and that was about, expansion. And then this is my question, and it said, to go a little further on that, you've been talking about expansion. You said that everything's on the table. There's all options. So are you having those ongoing conversations with teams across the country? And is this something that you're really heavily looking at in an expansion of memberships, seeing what the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC have already done in the past 12 months? Jim Phillips said, I'm not going to talk about any of the details about who we have or haven't talked about, but we've had lots of really good discussions within the ACC, and I think you have to be thoughtful. You have to be smart. You have to be strategic. Making a move just to make a move doesn't make any sense. In the end, what is the value that ends up coming back to the conference if we were to expand? All of those things have to be under great scrutiny and dialogue, and ultimately some kind of formation of what we think is best. So he did not obviously divulge anybody that they may be looking at. And, I think, honestly, that, they have to, you got to take care of home base, right? You got to make sure that the people that are at home are being taken care of. And what I mean by that is, and he talks about neighborhoods, is making sure that your neighborhood's okay, right? Making sure that your tenants are happy, having those neighborhood meetings and seeing how everybody is feeling, right? And not shying away from the facts. People that run away from it, right? Like, oh, there might be a problem, but I'm just not going to deal with it and hope that it goes away. Those people are never, ever, ever people that I like being around, right? The people that just hope that the problem goes away, hope that the problem doesn't show itself, hope that it somehow disappears on its own miraculously, instead of actually dealing with the problem. That's never been my style. It's never been what I'm about. It's never been what I stand for. And it's because it doesn't work. It genuinely does not work. It never works to be in a situation where you just hope that everything just dissolves and goes away and everything will be okay. And, ultimately you have to deal with problems head on. If you want to change your situation, then you have to be willing to change your situation. You can't wait for your situation to change itself, and I think a lot of people that shy away from things, that's what they want to do, right? And that's, they kind of just want to hide and go about things, and you can't do it that way. You can't hide and wait. And I think that, Jim Phillips needs to be advantageous. Does that mean that he has to expand for the sake of expanding? No. And I 1,000,000,000% agree with him on that you don't expand for the sake of expanding. Because if you expand for the sake of expanding, then who are you bringing in, right? And what value does that bring to the conference? Does that make sense to the conference? So you have to be very purposeful in the actions that you take and the actions that you make. And so I believe, in my opinion, that, I think there's big moves to be made. And I think that, one of those moves is pretty darn clear. I think that one of those moves is extremely clear, and that is finding a way, somehow, some way, to get Notre Dame to come into the conference. That's an imperative move that they have to make. I'm not going to belabor the point, as I've talked about it a lot, but I think it's extremely important that they look at something like that. Now, I do want to go to something he said about Notre Dame and definitely get into this here. So it's the question that was posed to him is about reevaluating, potentially try to talk to Notre Dame about joining the conference in football to help strengthen the ACC. And so that question was not asked by me, it was asked by the room. And so I definitely appreciate the person that posed the question. It says, quote, "I love our 15 schools, and I'm confident in us staying together." This is what Jim Phillips, the commissioner, had to say. "That's all I've heard in all the calls that we've had. We want to work together to try to provide more resources to our student athletes so we're all on the same page. I sat here a year ago talking about Notre Dame, and whenever I've been asked the question, we continue to remain close with Notre Dame. They know how we feel. They know that we would love to have them as a football member in the conference, but we also, and I also, respect their independence. Having worked there, having 2 children there, going to school right now, one a student athlete, I know what independence means to Notre Dame. So you respect it. And I know that if there comes a time that Notre Dame would consider moving to a conference and away from independence, I feel really good about it being the ACC. Now that obviously is, a good feeling, right, for ACC fans and for people around the country. But the question is, how true is that, right? The question, and this is not me saying the commissioner's lying, but it's how true are those feelings, right? Does Notre Dame really feel that way, and where do we stand? And I just got to let you know that as we're going through this, it's great to have this candle here in studio, and definitely when I was on the road, missing my aromas that I have there. So we have summer in Cuse, and I just want to let everybody know that it's imperative to calm yourself down in high octane situations like ACC and Notre Dame. So I calm myself down by having a candle in the studio, and to me it just it helps me find some peace. And if you were on our social media yesterday, I actually wrote about that. So Greg said, "Good morning, DT. Only able to do a quick check-in this morning on this 19th wedding anniversary celebration. Listening from Ocean Park Beach, Maine. Man, you travel a lot, brother. You're trying to rival my travels. Happy 19th wedding anniversary. Get after it." I love that. So happy, listen, for a man who is, still in search of that beautiful love, I can appreciate that. So happy 19th wedding anniversary to you and your gal. 1,000,000%. You try to find that in life, right? Because it's very, very hard to find. So 19 years married. Congratulations. I'm sure more years on top of that y'all knew each other. So big time congrats and much love and appreciation to you all. So great stuff. Love it. And happy anniversary to you and your lady, Mr. Greg. So thank you for checking in too. I hope that your wife is not mad at me now that I've shamelessly plugged her. Hopefully she will not be. So, light that candle of love, baby. So, I was messing around with shameless plug. So, having a good time here. But yeah, Jim Phillips saying, "I feel really good that if Notre Dame is going to leave independence, I feel good about them joining the ACC." And, that's great, but the question is, how real is that, right? How tangible is that right now? And where are things in the background? Because, keeping these tight to the vest, so to speak. And so, I just definitely am interested in this. And getting to hear the commissioner talk about another question that was posed, the way the alliance dissolved. Now, I've talked about the joint alliance, right? And I've talked about how I thought it was, not what they said it was, because it didn't make any sense to be what they said it was. And that was the thing, that this joint alliance that was created between the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the ACC was made to share information and schedule games. And I thought that was, ridiculous, because listen, you can share information with conferences if you want to, right? You can share information with anybody, right? You sit down and say, okay, well, we want to divulge this information, see where your head's at. Okay, well, we'll let you know what we're thinking and where our head's at. Okay, so whatever. And scheduling, they've already been able to schedule the ACC Big Ten Challenge. They didn't need this joint alliance to do that. So, and what has the ACC done with the Pac-12? You know what I mean? So I think, to me, as I've said before, I thought it was bogus, stating oh yeah, this is to spread information. No, it was a reaction, in my opinion, it was a reaction to the SEC. Because you look at timelines, and again, people, I don't believe in coincidences, and you look at, the way that timelines go, and look at this timeline that we've been sitting in, right? The timeline of this situation of the SEC grabbing Oklahoma and Texas from the Big 12, and then the joint alliance just popping up out of nowhere, right after. And it's with three of the other quote unquote power conferences who are actually autonomy conferences, which means that they are self-governing inside of the ACC. So to have that side of it, I said, okay, well, you know what? This makes sense, right? They're banding together to be ready for what could happen with the SEC. And they left the Big 12 out, in my opinion, thinking that, okay, well, they're at some point. So, this is how it all kind of shakes out. And with it shaking out in that way and in that manner, I just, now that it's dissolved, it makes perfect sense to me that it was there as kind of an emergency. What the heck do we do? And it's gone away from that, right? It was there as an emergency. What the heck do we do? And then you see the Big Ten bite off the Pac-12, right? And now it's like, okay, so what alliance? This isn't an alliance, and this isn't a connection, and this isn't a family, and this isn't a group that's working together. So, I think just as kind of ridiculous as it sounded when it was created, here's the ridiculousness of it as we're looking at it today, with it having, where, does it exist, right? And it's not even, it's not even a true partnership, because you wouldn't eat one of the other conferences if you're a true family. So, the ridiculousness of it is kind of reared its head. And so the question came up about, the dissolving of this, and, and Commissioner Jim Phillips' thoughts on this. You've used a lot of terms like the quote, the greater good, quote, being in the same neighborhood. Do you feel the other commissioners share your mindset or approach in that regard? He said, I do. I think we all understand we have a deeper responsibility than our own conference. Listen, I'm proud of the work that we did in the alliance. It was the Big Ten's decision to do what they did. That's not for me to judge. They did what they felt was in the best interest of the conference. But we did some really significant things together over the period of 12 months, including legislation that we just talked about earlier in my remarks. We have to continue to try to come together. Really look forward to working with Brett, the new commissioner. I do want to say this. I'm remiss if I didn't speak just a moment thanking, if I didn't spend just a moment thanking Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner of the Big 12, who's been a great friend and a mentor, and somebody that I just think the world of, who just announced, obviously, his retirement of maybe 6-8 months ago, but officially retires, and that's going to come up on August 1st at the end of the month. So I could say a lot of things about Bob Bowlesby, but Bob Bowlesby made collegiate athletics better, and excited for him and Candace and their family to do what they're going to do in the next chapter. I'm looking forward to working with Brett, just like I do with George, just like I do with Greg, and with Kevin and all of our FBS commissioners. Then I think we have a really nice group of 32 commissioners. You're going to have to come together. We're going to have to continue to work together. I'm optimistic about us being able to do that. So, obviously, this alliance, like I said, totally bogus when I heard about it. Didn't even give it much credence when, we were emailed about it in the media that this joint alliance was happening with the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the ACC, because it came right after the SEC, and you read about it and you're like, okay, but what do they do? What are they here for? And then the Big Ten was like, oh, cool. Maybe they did share information between conferences, and maybe the Pac-12 shared the information that the Big Ten wanted to find out that, oh, okay, well, guess what? USC and UCLA are going to be available. We're going to take them. So, was this advantageous for the Big Ten? Did they do it with ill will toward the Pac-12 going into it? Did they kind of know that they were going to snake a little bit? I don't know. Only the Big 10 can answer that, but ultimately at the end of the day, this is where we are, and that joint alliance was not an alliance. It was, like I said, I think it was made out of what they thought was maybe necessity at the time to band together, and you saw that the Big 10 had no desire to band with anybody, as, they may take from the ACC, and they, have already taken from the Pac-12. So I don't know if Commissioner Jim Phillips will maybe be as open as, in sharing information in the future, depending on what he shared. So, that's something to look at. Now, the revenue that we see with the Big Ten and the SEC, Jim Phillips was asked the question, if expansion's the only resolution to cutting that down, looking at where things are at and where the Big Ten and the SEC sit, do you have to just look at expansion? And he said, I don't know that it's the only solution. I think you have to look creatively. We've been doing that over the last year. We're going to continue to do that. All neighborhoods need to be healthy. It's not good for college athletics if we're not. And again, you heard my references earlier. We understand where those two leagues are. No one is ignoring that. We're all trying to find ways to close that gap. So I know where our 17, and then he paused, and he said where our 15 schools are. We're really aligned to try and find some solutions to that revenue gap. But if it can't be at the expense, of the other things that we're doing. So there's, I think, a really good plan for us as we move ahead. Again, considering all of our options in these kinds of times, you have to do that. It's unique what happened over the last 12 months. So he did say 17. He started to say 17 schools. He stopped himself and he said 15. And I still think about that, Freudian slip potentially, and what that could mean for the conference, and so I definitely am looking at that, and so and for those of you that don't know the definition of Freudian slip, it's an unintentional error regarded as revealing subconscious feelings. So Freudian slip, an unintentional error regarded as revealing subconscious feelings. So are there two more to be added? And the first thing that I thought, I was like, Oregon, Washington? So, because now since geographically things don't matter to the Big Ten, they still matter to other conferences, and the American Athletic Conference got really hip to the game by calling themselves the American. And I said that from the beginning because they could take anybody in this constant realignment saga and find a way to continue to stay relevant. So Jim Phillips did go on and say that was an error. 15 schools. Sorry about that. Thinking about your expansion number, and then there was laughter in the room. So we'll see what that means. But, what have been my takeaways? Well, my takeaways is that they're not moving on anything, right? They're not doing anything as of right now. So that's where we're at right now. And sitting here, it's interesting to try and figure out where things are going to go, right? And how things are going to go. And what will the ACC do next? Because, again, I believe that the worst action is inaction. I believe the ACC has to do something, because we have to, I think as a conference, you have to show kind of where you're at, right? And, and show that might, right? Show that the power of this conference. And so I think at this point, there needs to be some type of movement that brings that, right? Brings that notion of, okay, they're in control. They got it. They're going to figure this out. I think it's very important to do that right now. And so, because it's imperative. I mean, this conference has been in a position of power for a while now, right? The ACC, with having Clemson do what they have done, and on the football side, when you have Duke and you have North Carolina, and, not recently, but, Syracuse and what Syracuse has been able to do historically, that brings some good to it, right? We've seen Clemson on the basketball side get themselves better. We've also, seen the improvements that have come at NC State at times. And, so there's other things that have happened. We saw Virginia Tech win their first ever ACC tournament title, and they used to be a Big East school, right? Half of the ACC pretty much is made up of the old Big East, right? There's 8 of the ACC and then 7 former Big East schools that are within the ACC. So, I think that, there is some strength here and there's some good here, but where are we going to go with this? And Jim Phillips was speaking on the revenue gap, and he said, I want to maybe level set it. The last 20 minutes, I think you got a sprinkling about where the ACC is nationally. All metrics, we are one of the leaders in the country in all of those areas I talked about, except the revenue piece of it. And that's been brought to light with the recent move of USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. A year ago, we were talking about the same thing, and so truly over the last 18 months, it's been my primary focus. We were able to get distribution done. We have some other things coming forward relative to what we're going to do in partnership with some revenue consultants that I'm really excited about being able to release that maybe by the end of the month, meaning the end of this month. We're looking at our TV contract. We're in engagement daily, almost daily with our partners at ESPN. I openly talk about ESPN because we're 50-50 partners on our network. And so they're motivated. We're motivated. We've come together to have some discussions about what will be the next iteration for the SEC. It doesn't mean we're going to make a move. It doesn't mean we're not going to make a move, but all options are on the table. Revenue is certainly one piece and a really big piece as we move forward, but I'll say it again. We need all communities healthy. And he had made this reference about, gated communities and, in this gated community, there might only be, 2 or 3 speaking on the SEC and the Big Ten, if not the Big 12 as well, from what I took away from it. He said maybe, and he went on to say this. So revenue is certainly one piece and a really big piece as we move forward. But I'll say it again. We need all communities healthy. When you think about where we're at right now, we're probably in the gated community, speaking of the ACC, as one of 5. Maybe people have a different line of demarcation about who is in there. It really doesn't take away from. We're going to continue to find new ways to generate revenue for our conference. And, and this is my thing, right? It shouldn't all be about the money. But that's what people want to talk, the money, right? It shouldn't all be about the money. It should be about the student athlete, which it's not. And, and it should be about, the greater good and making sure that all conferences can survive, right? The 32 conferences in Division 1, and then you have conferences in Division 2, Division 3. So, it's about, wanting these conferences to survive and thrive. And ultimately, what the Big Ten and the SEC are doing are looking out for themselves. And I think the Big Ten's trying to, look at the SEC and say, like, hey, take us with you. When you go, don't leave us behind type of thing. I mean, that's how I feel about it because I've told you for a while that I think the SEC is going to form their own league. And, maybe the Big Ten is trying to stay with that. Hey, let's work together. Let's find a way to do this thing together. And that's, left to be seen. But ultimately, I do think that times are changing. And, money, I do believe, is the root of all evil. And I know that whether you borrow $1,000 or $5, people get weird. And, I know somebody owed me $10 one time, and a long time later, was like a year later maybe, and they were like, oh, well, I've driven you around, so basically that $10 is equal. And I was like, well, that could be said if I never gave you gas money, but I also drive us around, and I drive us around more. So technically, if you want to do gas, then you drove this much, I drove this much, so you owe me gas money, and you owe me my $10. So, I think when it comes down to money, it always becomes an emotional conversation at some point. And, when is it about the kids? When is it about academics? I think people laugh when I say that, but, it needs to be about academics. And Jim Phillips is a man of faith. He's a man who wants to try and hold on. From everything I've seen, he's trying to hold on to the sanctity of what student-athlete means. And how do we do that? And how do we protect the conferences? And how do we stay strong, right? And, who would have ever thought in a million years that the ACC would be in a position of weakness, in a position where maybe people are looking at Clemson and Florida State and Miami. And who would have thunk that could have been their world, right? Because the ACC has been this all-powerful growing conference, right? 10 years ago in realignment, they were victors. They got Syracuse. They got Notre Dame in all sports but football. They got Louisville. They got Pittsburgh. They added to different pieces of their conference, and they expanded and they evolved and they continued to attack the Big East. They're the reason why the Big East football died. The ACC murdered the Big East the way that we knew it. And then the Catholic Seven went and formed their own conference. Took the name, took the logo, and the American was born out of it. The ACC single-handedly killed Big East football. So they know what it's like to stab somebody. And now there's the potential that they could get stabbed back. And this is poetic. And to some people, maybe it's justice that a decade later, those who took away from others may have something taken away from them. So Jim Phillips has a tough job right now, and he has to be very, very diligent. Probably has to, really think a lot of these things over daily on how do you attack it, right? What do you do with your TV contract? And just because you have a grant of rights until 2036, what does that mean? Because you want your membership to be happy. And can you make everybody happy at the same time? No. But you want your membership to be strong, right? You want your membership to work together. You want your membership to feel good together. And so that is something that comes up in question. Is that happening, right? Is that happening in this moment? And only the member schools only those 15 schools can talk about that, how they feel. Is Notre Dame toying with the ACC? Are they really interested, right? Is Clemson really happy? Is Florida State really happy? Is Miami really happy? Because if it comes down to revenue, and see, I'm not that type of person. So, I want to have enough money to take care of the things I need to take care of and have some left over to live the life I want to live. Go out there, have fun, go on vacation, do fun things, and make the most out of my life. And God has thankfully continued to bless me with more than enough money to pay my bills so that I can not only pay my bills, but that I can, have a life where I can go on adventures and have a good time. And, God's always been there for me to have $5 adventures and $500 adventures. So I appreciate him for that beyond everything. And, I'm not a person that's about the money, but if there are members in this conference that are about the money first, then there could be a danger zone here with the ACC, because how are you going to bridge that gap, and how are you going to do it quickly, right? What is your plan? What if Clemson, Florida State, Miami come to you and say, hey, by 2024, either we're going to leave or you need to have this. So tell us what you're doing for the last few months of this year, plus 2023 into 2024. We're going to give you, about a 2-year window to get this done, right? July to July, because you can move July 1st to another conference once all the things are agreed upon. July 1st is that magic date. So they could turn around and say, okay, we're going to give you about 2 years to figure this out. Tell us your plan, So, Jim Phillips taking over this job from John Swafford, it's no small task. It's a task that might be higher than the highest skyscraper we have in the country right now. And, Jim has to surround himself with good people and be really, really concrete in what he believes in and what he stands for, to be the person that he says he is, and to step forward and really genuinely take a look at where things stand right now and where he would like them to stand, and make sure he has the right team around him that can have this conversation. So Matt said that was then, this is now. Does it seem that now the ACC is reluctant or flat out scared to invade other conferences for teams? Matt, that was then, this is now, but it's, like I said, it's interesting how life works, right? Those who take are now in a position to be taken from. And so, that you always got to be careful in these situations in life. And I think it's hard to do that, right? The American had to take, and then they got taken from, right? Even the Pac-12 got taken from. Even the Pac-12 can bleed. The Big 12 can bleed. So, that was then, this is now. Do I think that they're scared? I don't know if scared's the right word, but I think that the ACC needs to be in touch with what's going on, and I think they need to be advantageous about it. And I think they really need to be clear about the moves that they're going to make. And again, I echo what Commissioner said. You don't make a move simply to make a move. But I do echo what I have said for weeks, which is the worst action is inaction at this point. The ACC has to do something, because right now they're a sitting duck, and I don't like that for them. I believe that they're going to have to do something, right? Because you don't want to just sit and wait for that ominous cloud to rest over your conference. So that's where I think, things could go, and I don't want that for the ACC. So they really need to check in with their membership, which I'm hope that they have, and people need to be honest in these conversations, right? And Clemson, Florida State, Miami, they got to figure out what they want. Schools like that got to figure out what they want, and and the ACC has to have those tough conversations, and they have to see what they can do, and they have to see if Notre Dame's viable, because we've all been in places where where you ask somebody out and it's maybe, and maybe could just be an elongated no, and a lot of times it is. So if they've asked Notre Dame 15 times and they've gone maybe, well, then maybe it's time to put up or shut up in that case and start barking up another tree, because to me, this Notre Dame thing might be fleeting. Matt said, does the ACC have the leverage to go to Notre Dame and tell them it's all or nothing, be with football or move on? I think they do. I think it's, they're sharing money right now. You cut Notre Dame out of it, then you can take that ACC revenue and share more of it with your 14 member schools, right? Because Notre Dame has the best of both worlds. And Aaron Hackett's coming up in a second. For those of you that have come in for it, thank you. But just to answer this final point that that Matt was asking about, I think you do go to Notre Dame and you say, hey, listen, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You've done that forever and a day, and you can't do it. Okay, you're making money off of us, and we're sharing, we're revenue sharing with you in the conference for your Olympic sports and for basketball, and then football you're getting 100% from NBC. So, you're getting from us and you're getting from them. Any conference that brings in Notre Dame had to have that thought that they would come in for football, right? Let's bring them in for every other sport. And as we've got them in as a member, let's meet with them, because if you got them in for any type of membership, you're meeting with their AD, you're meeting with, their front office, the powers that be. You're talking with their coaches, you're talking with their student athletes. So if the deal is, which I believe it has been, bring Notre Dame in and all over other sports with football and continuously, have the conversation, because they're in your conference for these other sports, continue to have this open dialogue and just woo them and woo them and woo them and woo them. And I think the Big East tried to do it and it didn't work. And now I think the ACC's done it and it hasn't worked. So, ultimately, I think it is put up or shut up time, right? The Big East had them for everything but football, and what did that do? Big East football's dead. The ACC has them for everything but football, and a decade later, if the ACC gets poached, what does that mean for the future of them? So having Notre Dame as a maybe doesn't help you get anywhere. So I think it is put up or shut up time for Notre Dame. And, they think they have all the cards. They think they could do whatever the heck they want. And they've been, again, when you have a kid that gets away with everything, throws their hand in the cookie jar and does whatever they want to do, then they're going to keep eating the cookies. But if I'm a conference already knowing that they, Notre Dame never did for the Big East what maybe the Big East, in my opinion, was hoping for, why would you be the ACC doing that, right? You saw the Big East dissolve. You killed the Big East, and maybe Notre Dame helped you do that. And so, what do you want to do now when it's your conference? You want to have these conversations. You want to try and find a way to get this to work. But ultimately, is it going to happen? And if it's not going to happen, you got to let it go, right? Sometimes people don't change. Sometimes situations don't change. And if you can't change your situation, then get out of the situation, right? Do what you need to do to get right. And who wants to be that who wants to be the conference that continues to try to date Notre Dame and date Notre Dame and date Notre Dame and date Notre Dame just to find out that Notre Dame is either staying single or Notre Dame is going to go date somebody else? Nobody wants to go out and bring somebody to dinner 25 times to find out that you spent your money on somebody that doesn't want to be with you. So ultimately, don't waste the money. And I think it's time for the ACC to have a real, genuine conversation. You can't beat around the bush anymore. What are you doing, Notre Dame? Are you staying? You going? What are you doing? Because ultimately, if they end up going to any conference, the ACC is still going to look stupid. Because they're going to have shared money with a school and an institution that eventually takes... Because when they go for football, they're going to take everything, in my opinion. So if they go to the Big Ten, they're going to not only not give the ACC football ever, but they're going to, except for that 2020 season, but they're going to rip everything else from them and throw it in another conference. So not only did they screw you over in football, but they're like, thank you, middle finger, for all the money, and now they're over in the Big Ten. So I just think the Notre Dame conundrum is, I think anybody that brings in Notre Dame brings them in the hope that they could get them for football. It's never worked before. So, either it's going to work in the Big Ten, I think, or it's not going to work. And I don't know if ACC has leverage over the Big Ten to bring in Notre Dame for football. So, I mean, if Notre Dame is what they stand for, academics and Christianity and truth and honesty, then the ACC could make sense. And I'm not saying the Big Ten doesn't have truth and honesty and Christianity and faith and all that. But I'm saying Notre Dame, if you are who you stand, I mean, if you really are who you say you are, and you're about academics and the Christian way, there's nothing Christian about what's going on right now, and there's nothing academic about what's going on right now. So it seems to be all about the money, which that is not how I was raised. That faith is not about the money. Jesus was not rich. So, to me, Notre Dame, either be who you say you are or just come out and say, hey, just like the Big Ten, we want to make that bread. And that's why we're joining the conference. So we'll see where they stand as things continue to move forward here. And we will continue to move forward in a fast break. We'll come back with Aaron Hackett. Our special exclusive with Aaron Hackett comes up next. If you want to hear the true story on why he left Syracuse, he didn't transfer out because he wanted to. You're going to get the full story on what actually happened, everything he went through, and how somehow he has to pay for a portion of his education from Syracuse, even though he was there as a student athlete, which means that his tuition should have been free. And we'll get into name, image, and likeness and how he's working at Postgame, a company that is seeking to help student athletes and brands do name, image, and likeness the right way. That's all coming up in an exclusive conversation that you don't want to miss right after this. Inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, this is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular ice cream with only 35 ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Happy to be hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life, and always proud to be here with all of our fantastic guests. Over 3,000 wonderful people have graced the stage here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And one of those individuals that I talked with when he was getting recruited and during his time at Syracuse, and now after that time, is Mr. Aaron Hackett, who is joining me here today. Comes from Venice, Florida, and we have a lot to discuss: his time at Syracuse, transferring, as well as what he's doing now for postgame and working with name, image, and likeness, trying to do things the right way, and continuing to look at his career with the upcoming XFL draft in 2023. So with that being said, Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on my show. Always a great place to tell a story. And like you said, been at this since I was getting recruited to Syracuse. So through that process of recruiting to being a player to where I am post-career, always been great to get on the show with you.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate it. I know we've gotten to have some really nice heart-to-hearts off the air as well. And I just want to thank you for the human being that you've been to me, and just, seeing me for who I am, and building that relationship and that bond, which goes beyond football. So more than anything else, I want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love being on the show, and anytime I get to come on here, man, it's always a pleasure. So excited for today.
So going to your Syracuse time, you commit to Syracuse. You and I had conversations about all of this, and you coming in and ultimately making that decision to come to the Orange. Looking back on it, hindsight 2020, what do you think about your decision to commit and come to Syracuse, and overall just your experience that you got while you were there?
Yeah, absolutely. And just, plucking a kid like myself out of South Florida, coming all the way up to Central New York and making that home for me was amazing. And I'm so thankful for the people I met in the time and the community around Syracuse, because it really was a picture perfect 4 years. You know what I mean? I've made lifelong bonds with friends, coaches, teammates that I'll cherish those relationships forever. So, we had a couple great years. I've definitely faced some adversity throughout my career, but wouldn't trade it for the world. And I'm proud to be a Syracuse alum, and I'll always bleed orange. And absolutely, man, I'm just so thankful for the opportunity that Coach Babers and them gave me, and gonna forever be orange. So.
And you have that, time in our history where you and Luke Benson, in my opinion, brought the best tight end tandem in a very long time, really brought the tight end back to the Syracuse football world, because it had been absent. We had Nick Provo, his younger brother, Tyler Provo, and then there was, kind of a lull. Ron Thompson played both sides of the ball, but it got quiet when it came to utilizing the tight end offensively in the passing game. I, as you know, believe that it should have been used so much more. And it's not just because I know you, and not just because I've been around you and Luke, but there was something about what you guys did, how automatic you were. And in an offense that was always struggling to find something that worked, I felt like the one thing that was working was the tight end, and they kept going away from it. So how did you experience that? And how do you, as one of the players within that, say, okay, well, when Luke and I are out here and you fake somebody running, and you toss it over top, and you set up these different plays for us in the end zone, we're almost automatic, but it's so seldom. How did you handle we're very, very effective, but it's almost never used?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you talked about, there was about a 3-week stretch during that 2019 season where I think me and Luke combined for 5 touchdowns. And it just seemed like anytime we got into the RPO play action game that we were popping open. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely frustration along the way. I would like to thank, obviously, Coach Fareed, because those opportunities probably wouldn't have came had we not been so dedicated to blocking and being in the trenches and putting an emphasis on that. So our involvement in the run game and how all those things tied together was huge. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see this offense kind of move towards utilizing the tight end, especially on some of the red zone RPO stuff that they love to do. And it just kind of goes year to year basis. Obviously, we had that great year in 2019. My freshman campaign with Ravion Pierce, he had a breakout season. So it just, it kind of depended year to year. Yeah, I wish they would have got us the ball a little bit more, but at the end of the day, you're going to do what the play is called. You're going to do your task. And I think that, that year that everyone saw us catch all those touchdowns, they also didn't think about how hard we blocked and what we meant to the run game. Even adding Chris Elmore into that mix, you know what I mean? Getting in 12 personnel with a tight end and a fullback in the game and running the football. My last year, the emergence of Sean Tucker, I felt that was huge for him. We basically would just run ISO and one-on-one with the linebacker, and Sean would read off me, and how dynamic of a back he is. You kind of understand sometimes your touches are going to go down, but yeah, there was frustrating points, and I look back on it, obviously tied with the most career touchdowns by anyone in Syracuse history from a tight end spec, and I'm grateful. But touching on what you said, I think there definitely could have been more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The tight end is sometimes a thankless job, and I think for me, it's being that thankless job and an extension of the offensive line. When you're blocking and you're not involved in the passing game, people aren't saying much, right? If somebody's running the ball, they're looking at the person running the ball. If there's good protection, they're looking at the quarterback being protected and can he get the ball down the field. But they're not always looking at the line, almost never, and they're not always looking at the tight end. So when we look back on your time at Syracuse, what can you say about the fact that even though you weren't used in the passing game as much as I think you should have been, that there were other things you were doing that maybe the XFL or somebody else would see on film?
Yeah, it just gave me opportunity to be well-rounded. Myself, I'm not, I guess from a physical standpoint, the most athletic guy, but, being able to put myself in a bunch of different positions and do a lot of different things allowed me the opportunity to get on the field and make an impact for the teams I played for in Syracuse and possibly in the future. I going through the process of pro day and everything like that, I saw a lot of teams kind of viewed me as a fullback, H-back position, a guy who can do a lot of those things. So being comfortable with a versatile role is definitely huge, especially in the Syracuse offense, right, where you're tasked to do things from the backfield. They might split you out. They're definitely going to put you in line, but you better know how to block or else it's going to be hard path onto the field.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is having that blocking side of that working in your favor. And, like I said, a thankless job, but do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy blocking? Are there things about it that you've really just, have become maybe like second nature to you when it comes to that side of it? Because when you see, the tight ends that we hear about are the Tony Gonzalez's of the world, right? The Kyle Pitts of the world, the Travis Kelce's. And why do we hear about them? Mark Andrews, because they receive the ball and they're part of their wide receiving core, even though they're not a wide receiver. So when you look at the other side of it and the blocking side, are there things that have become second nature that you really enjoy doing at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved anytime I got a chance to be involved in the run game, especially when, all the dynamic running backs we had at my time at Syracuse. It's really fun to, put your body on the line, maybe throw a cut or, come in pulling around on a pull play and hitting a linebacker and seeing Mo Neal or Dante Strickland or Sean Tucker just burst one and take it down the sideline. So that's a great feeling. And, not everything is told in the stat sheets. I'm a firm believer, especially from a tight end position. So there was things that I had to get really good at and that had to become second nature to me just in order to help the team win and help me kind of, get through the game. Like if I knew if I wasn't going to take the right first step, or maybe I was a snap count off the ball late, like I was probably going to get beat. So to emphasize on the details and really work on those little things on my craft that allowed me to get better in the run game was amazing.
Speaking here with Aaron Hackett here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Syracuse Orange Football alum, and we're going to get into a lot of other things here with NIL and whatnot. You did decide to transfer out of Syracuse. You had an opportunity to go to TCU. You and I spoke when that was supposed to happen. You ended up at Kent State. You're part of this world that we live in where people don't see it, how different loopholes and other people. I mean, I remember when I was graduating from Marywood University, I had a teacher try to prevent me from graduating. He was just a very interesting human being. And there was a loophole that I took, and this will make no sense to you, Aaron. I took too many credits. And so because I took a sports class that was supposed to be a half a credit and I took 3 credits instead and I pushed myself more, he found a loophole. And while I was in the hospital after I got my tonsils out and rehabbing from the infection and stuff that had gotten into them and just the way that I had felt, I was at home for a month and I had a teacher try to prevent me from graduating because of this very strange loophole. Well, when you try to go to TCU and ended up at Kent State, fans think this, that, and the other, but nobody knows the full story. And you're free to tell as much of it as you'd like to tell. But I love for you to share the fact that things aren't as always as easy as they seem. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the student athlete when these loopholes happen. And I feel like, you know, it's unfortunate, but you're one of those student athletes that fell into one of those cracks where you had a lot of teams recruiting you, but there was this stipulation that you didn't really know about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that something a lot of the fans don't realize is that anytime someone enters the transfer portal or they may be changing schools, a lot of times that athlete does not, that decision does not lie to them. And just from a personal standpoint, like we talked about, I had a great career at Syracuse, you know, put my body on the line, fingers looking crazy, like they'll be like that the rest of my life. And, you know, I was asked to leave. Frankly, you know, Coach Babers really going into my 5th year didn't see me getting on the field or helping the team. So I was asked to leave. And, you know, a guy like myself, when you're kind of pushed out the door a little bit, you know, I wanted to play another year of college football. I didn't want to sit behind a younger guy here at Syracuse or not be wanted by a coaching staff. So that played in my decision to leave completely. I don't know if I would have left Syracuse if I wasn't asked. And so, like you said, entered the transfer portal, you know, had a lot of really great options to go out to the play in the Big 12, even the SEC. But, you know, when I left Syracuse, I had 1 semester left of schoolwork, and then I had an internship, about a 6-week internship that I had to complete in order to certify my degree. Well, unbeknownst to me, that I finished all my coursework, but that 6-week internship had to be started once the semester ended. Syracuse had some things. This is obviously coming out of COVID, where the summer session got canceled. And realistically, I wasn't going to be able to get on campus. And I didn't know this until late, but I wasn't going to be able to get on campus at TCU until, you know, mid-August, late August. So it would have been halfway, more than halfway through camp. So that really wasn't an option. And, you know, shout out Sean Lewis, taking care of me, being able to get me into Kent State as an undergrad transfer, because I wouldn't have been able to do that at TCU. You need to have 80% of your degree, and my credits just weren't going to transfer. So, I mean, shout out to Coach Lewis. He took me in on short notice and, you know, got to have a great year over there. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand. And even from an athlete's perspective, like when you enter the transfer portal and they tell you they'll pay for your school and they'll do this and that, like you don't just hear it for the words. Make sure everything is behind it. Because like I said, I finished my season at Kent State. I had to go back to Syracuse to get my degree, and I had to pay for it, which is, you know, getting pushed out of school and then having to come back and pay for the degree. That's why I went to Syracuse. So I'll make an investment on myself and pay for a semester of school. But yeah, like I said, it's not always guys who willingly enter the transfer portal. And a guy like me who, you know, put his body on the line. I never missed a game at Syracuse University. I've been taken out on the back of an ambulance to the hospital against Louisville. I've played through a lot of injuries. So to kind of not be treated like that, but the fans, I want them to know that, you know, I never would have left Syracuse if I wasn't pushed out. And so, yeah, you know, that definitely plays into it. And there's a side of the transfer portal that a lot of people don't know. And, you know, that's why I say a guy like myself, I'm a Syracuse alum. Like, I will be a fan of Orange sports till I die. And so I just want to clear that up to the fan base that, you know, not every guy you see enter the transfer portal, even if they're a big time player on the team, they don't necessarily always enter that willingly. So,
you know, and for you to have to go through that, like you said, being forced out, that you felt pushed out the door, you know, and the fact that you didn't want to leave, that to me is a very unfortunate situation. I'm sad that you had to go through something like that. But like you said, when you put your body on the line, your blood, your sweat, your tears, you get taken in the back of an ambulance out of that Louisville game. How have you found peace with the fact that the school that you gave your everything to, that coaching staff was like, yeah, you need to get out of here? I mean, and like you said, the transfer portal, they think, oh, this kid's just running away from the program. He doesn't care about us. Screw him. And you go on social media and you could just see things about you, about anybody, like, oh, if you're not with, like, I remember I did a show with Taj Harris, and when he had originally committed to Kentucky, I did an exclusive with him. And I had, you know, not many, most people were happy to hear from him or watch the show. But, you know, you always get a couple knuckleheads. And I don't want to give any credence to them, but it's only to the example that you gave. One of the people wrote to me and said, why would you even talk to him? And he was mad at me for doing an interview with this guy. I said, number one, I owe nothing to you. I am friends with these, you know, and you know it. I'm friends with these guys. Like, I build relationships through my job. that become personal and professional. I'm not just there to get a story. I care about the people. So I care about you. I care about Taj. I was going to talk to Taj no matter what. And I also know that, did Taj make mistakes in his time there? Yeah, he did some things, but I talked to him like a friend, and I actually wanted him to see what he did and get better. Somebody makes a mistake in today's world, they write you off for the rest of your life. Taj made a mistake at a camera, and then we talked about his leadership afterward and what he was going to do to make it better. So in Taj's case, I really felt that. I felt like not only were they mad at him, but they were even, their anger came out to me, like, how dare you talk to the guy that screwed us over? So I think it's right for you to tell your story of not wanting to leave Syracuse, getting pushed out the door, and being put in a situation you didn't want to be in, because fans will turn around and go, well, thanks, Aaron, for nothing. You turned your back on us. Where the true story is, unfortunately, the program turned its back on you.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's tough conversations to be had. And that's high level college football, right? Like, we're playing in the ACC. I understand that. But I don't think the fans, they see it from Aaron Hackett that enters the transfer portal and not, you know what I mean? Like, if a coach tells you that he doesn't foresee you playing next year, he doesn't see you coming back, which were his exact words to me, I would say that, yeah, you're kind of pushed out of the door. And, I'm not hurt by it. I always loved the university. It gave me 4 great years. I always loved the football team just because, me and those guys, everyone who's played before us and after us, we will always have that bond of Syracuse Orange football players. And that lasts a lifetime to me. But, I'm just like I said, I'd love to come on the show and kind of explain that, because I don't ever want SU fans to be like, oh, Aaron Hackett, he had a great career at Syracuse, but he decided to transfer. When in contrary, I didn't really have an option. So I'll always be thankful to the Syracuse fan base, especially the guys and girls who come out every Saturday in the Loud House and make it the best atmosphere in college football, especially with the redone dome. And I'll always be thankful of the great time and experience I had. But yeah, absolutely, it did hurt, and there were certain things I had to come to terms with. But at a point where I'm in my professional career and kind of overplaying college football, I understand it. It taught me a lot of valuable lessons. Syracuse University put me in a position I am today to be able to go and, work at post game and work directly with college athletes right out of college. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, they just owe you a semester.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I'm still going through it with the Bursar office, and but I do. It has gotten to a point where, yes, I do have to take out my own loan. And like I said, I've talked to Mr. Wildhack about this, and apparently there's nothing that can be done. But for a guy who, has put his body on the line multiple times, never missed a game, you think they would make some inclusion or make something happen. But that's where we're at today.
And I think that's one of the things you hear the most, right, is that you guys get a free education. So that's why I think it's important to not only show that you were, like, in your words, that you were told, I don't foresee you being a part of this program, so you really didn't have a choice. If you were going to stay there, you weren't going to play. So to hear from the coaching staff that brought you in, hey, we don't really see you playing here, and to go, okay, well, I just gave you everything. I moved up here from Florida. I am, I'm over 1,000 miles from my family. I came to this school with a vision and a mission to, obviously play college ball, but also, I would think to go to the NFL or to go to play professionally somewhere. So you go through all of that. Then they tell you, hey, you know what? We're turning our back on you. By the way, if you transfer, this is all you got to do. And you go, okay, I'll do it. And then you find out that the school that knocked you once knocked you twice, because now you can't go to TCU, you can't go to these SEC schools, you can't go to some of these places that recruited you, and that Kent State was able to find a way, thank God. But that's why I think it's imperative to tell this story, Aaron, because you're one of the kids that literally did get thrown into a crack. It was like when the school you were at was done with you, it didn't matter to them that you couldn't play anywhere else. It didn't matter to them that your eligibility was going to be shaken. It didn't matter to them that you're trying to make the NFL. They push you out, and then they put you in a situation where you couldn't succeed. And the transfer portal, before we got it, I remember Jordan Frederick saying this to me, who played running back at Syracuse. He kept trying to play, and they said, lose weight, do this, do that. And he said, he's like, I did everything I was asked to do. And then Syracuse, it's still with Dino, wouldn't play him, wouldn't put him out there, and wouldn't really tell him what was going to happen. So he goes to transfer, and the 3 schools that wanted him the most, Dino put on a list and said, you can't go to any of these schools. And he said, but this is like, you don't want me. I want to go somewhere I wanted. Yeah, but I don't want you to go to these places. With the new transfer portal, a coach can't do that. They can't give you a list and tell you where not to go. So I love that about the transfer portal. And that, but the thing in your case that I don't like is that the school that was kicking you out the door is also the school that's now taking your money, and the school that didn't tell you how things were actually going to go. And because they led you down the wrong path and didn't prepare you for what was supposed to happen, you weren't able to do what you needed to do to be able to transfer correctly. And when somebody tells you something that's not the truth, or maybe in that moment they didn't know and they just said something, for somebody to lead you down the wrong path, they go to work the next day. But your career was forever changed by that. And that's something I think people need to know, because they're always blaming the student athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you try to come back to the school, getting recruited by Syracuse, they sell you 40 years, not 4, you're going to get your degree no matter what. Well, that was their reasoning for not paying for my school. And another thing a lot of people don't know is that when you come to Syracuse, right, I went to Syracuse and I wanted to be David B. Falk School of Sports Management. That's what I wanted to do. That's why I went to Syracuse. That's the field I'm in now. And when I got to Syracuse for my first about year and a half, this is why I was a little bit behind credits, is because they funnel all the guys into a major that's unlisted. And really, it's either you need to get a 3.5 or a 4.0 GPA to transfer into something like David B. Falk School of Sports Management, which I did. That's why it took me a little longer, is because I had to get my GPA up. But they kind of filter you into these majors that you might not get an education in something you care about. And there's a lot of SU athletes who maybe have degrees where they wanted to be in Whitman or something else, and they just weren't able to do it. I made sure that I was going to get my degree, and I was going to, go to David B. Falk School of Sports Management, get my degree from there, learn about, the sports business world and everything that goes on there. So I was headstrong about doing that. And that's kind of what set me behind, because I don't think I ever failed a class in college. I wasn't a bad student. I made sure I did everything when it was due. My grades were okay. And it was just kind of an unfortunate circumstance that I couldn't get my degree in time to transfer. But, there's obviously some issues on my end, and could I have been more, prevalent to the situation that was going on, or done more research? Yeah, probably. But, when you're kind of, like you said, kicked to the curb and looking for a new school, you're just hearing what you want to hear. Like, yeah, you guys will get me there in July. Awesome. Sounds good. Here's my transcript. Everything's going to be all right. And unfortunately, it doesn't always turn out that way.
Yeah. And so going through what you went through, what would be, speaking here with Aaron Hackett of Syracuse Orange Football history, as we get set to talk on the bigger picture of things here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cuball studios, I would love to get your advice to student athletes out there right now that are getting ready to go to college, that are being recruited. Now that hindsight is 2020, what should they look for? Which I know that everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different, but if you could give any advice to the young men and women out there that are trying to decipher who's telling them the truth and what could be a good fit, what would be your advice to them out there now, as firsthand what it's like to be lied to, and for it to cost you time, money, and probably some heartache?
Yeah, I would just say, especially from an academic standpoint, is that, when you're taking your visits to colleges and everything, make sure that the programs they're showing you are a program that you could get into. Because I remember on my official visit, they took me, I remember it clear as day, they took me and Nakeem Johnson to Newhouse School. And, we sat behind the mics like we were going to be sports broadcasters. And I get there in summer, my freshman year, and I'm in Falk undecided major, and there's no really route for me. I could transfer into social work, or I could do human development and family studies, but those aren't really things that interest me. And so I would just make sure that a lot of times on these recruiting visits, they'll show you the best schools you could get into, but just make sure there's no stipulation that for you to get into those schools, or there's no requirements that they're going to bring you in there as unregistered or unlisted. But like I said, I have no hard feelings towards Syracuse University. I wouldn't say they lied to me directly, but in terms of just kind of pushing me out the door and maybe not giving me a full scope on everything that's happening is the reason I had to come back and get my degree and ultimately pay, almost $40,000 out of my pocket for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's something you never hear from student athletes, right? You never
hear. And it's like, we'll take care of you, come here, get your SU degree. We'll do everything to make sure you get your SU degree. But here's a guy like me. I just got done playing at Kent. I'm trying to come back and get my degree, and not even to take a class, but to do an internship. And I'm getting charged that price. So again, I mean, no, Syracuse is an expensive school. I was going to get my degree no matter what. If I had to take out a loan or not, it was going to happen because, the weight a degree from Syracuse University holds, and how my education was there and how much I learned. I wanted that on my resume, but yeah, definitely hurtful for sure.
Well, if you ever need an internship, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media is all about that management side of things, business side. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary of our multimedia company. So
awesome. Congrats to you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So if you need some help where there's going to be transparency, you know where to go. So with that being said, you are at postgame right now, and I would love for you to tell people what postgame is. I know you're wearing it there on your chest, and would love to for you to expand on this. People can go to home.pstgm.com to check out postgame and get some more information on this. And as it says on the homepage, postgame connects brands to 60,000 plus college athletes. Would love to get your story on why you chose to work at postgame and what they truly do to fit into this NIL world today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was fortunate enough to kind of walk into a position here at postgame. It's about 15 minutes from my hometown of Venice. We're located in Sarasota, Florida. And we're a full service agency that connects, hundreds and hundreds of athletes to national brand partnerships and NIL deals. I think we work on the side that NIL was created for, getting guys marketing deals, allowing them to profit off their name, image, and likeness and tell a story and use their social media to get paid. So, it's been great. It's allowed me to kind of stay in the loop, stay working with college athletics. I think ultimately people talk a lot about NIL, but from a marketing standpoint and what it was meant to do, I think we're doing it the right way, and it's had huge benefits. I mean, just this weekend, we shot a Crocs commercial ad down here, Sarasota, Florida, with two local guys, Malachi Wyman, who's at Jackson State, and then Jay Sean Platt, who's at FAU. And we're able to kind of, not only give these guys money to fly home on a weekend and do a shoot like that, but, inform them about taking care of their brands, marketing themselves and everything like that. Here at Postgame, we don't take any commission from athletes. We also don't sign athletes. So like you said, we have over 60,000 users on our platform. So, we run large scale marketing campaigns for national brands, and they put us in charge of whether it's 50 athletes or 500 athletes is getting these guys informed, getting them to the campaigns and getting them paid ultimately.
So how does postgame, when you don't take any commission from the student athlete, how do you make money? I mean, do you become an agency for these, like, let's say, okay, I'm representing Monster Energy. Okay. So I'm representing Monster Energy, and I am wanting to work with, these 20 student athletes in the state of Florida. And then do I call you up and say, hey, I need you to, like, how does the business and the student athlete and you all connect? And then how does ultimately postgame make revenue on that?
Yeah. So we have a free to use platform. It's in the App Store, labeled under postgame. And basically athletes just sign up. All they have to do is put their username, Instagram, email, and phone number. And then we'll alert them anytime we have a campaign with a large brand. So like right now we just did Crocs, got some guys in Syracuse in the deal. So they'll get a text here shortly, just kind of alerting them, hey, you've been chosen by Crocs. Here are the requirements of the campaign. Here's how you fill it out. Like I said, though, we work at scale. So we're doing campaigns, 50 is probably the smallest, and all the way up to hundreds and thousands of athletes. So in terms of what we do on our side is we manage those campaigns, and that's where we're valuable to the brands. But it's been great. And just, like I said, everyone talks about NIL and it's this big bad thing, and people are getting paid to play. But what they don't understand is that majority of athletes out here aren't getting paid. And whether it be Syracuse football or, UCLA volleyball or Florida State soccer, there's hundreds of athletes out there who have not gotten endorsement deals. And that's where we come in. We try to connect them and allow them to get seen in front of national brands, get them in our campaigns, and, hopefully ultimately get them paid.
Yeah. And so I mean, for post game, what do you think the value is for the businesses, right? For the companies, for the brands, what is their value to come to you specifically and let you be a part of this?
Yeah. So, I mean, NIL is so new and fresh, and it kind of just launched a year ago. So, we saw over the last year that companies are kind of dabbling their foot in, and whether it be that they go all in chips with one athlete and, just throw money at one premier guy, or they try to do a small number of 10. I think a lot of brands were recognizing the power in numbers and the reach that these athletes have. So, instead of paying one athlete $50,000, your Bryce Youngs, your top tier college football players, if you pay 50 athletes $1,000 across the whole spectrum of different sports, different genders, different geography locations, like that's ultimately more powering as a marketing tool. And so I think companies who have worked with us in the past see how well we manage campaign. They see the great content that comes out from post game, working with these athletes in terms of their creativity and uniqueness. Athletes, I mean, some of the campaigns we've done, the athletes kind of have the free, here, go do what you want, just show the product. And we've got some really creative ideas coming back. Yeah, it's been amazing. And like I said, we've worked with female athletes, actually female only campaigns. We just had one with Lulu's, a women's clothing brand, where we had, a large number of female athletes participate. Not only did they get paid, but they also got a bunch of free Lulu's gear. So it's been awesome.
And speaking here with Aaron Hackett, coming to us, Syracuse alum, Kent State alum, and now working at Postgame, working with name, image, and likeness. You said trying to do things the right way, as we talk about this inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and the Cafe Kubal studios. What is the right way to do name, image, and likeness in your definition?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a complex question, and especially I would say at the top tier, college football, college basketball. There's a lot of wild things going on, and guys, I want guys to get paid as much as someone's willing to pay them. So I'll never say that there's a right or wrong way to do things. And if someone's paying you $9.5 million to do a marketing deal, I think that you should get $9.5 million. Now, from a marketing side, that might not be the best strategy for a company, but if they want to do it, hey, power to the players. Like I said, a guy like me who had to come back and get his degree and was on my own, you never know how long your football career is going to go. So, take advantage of it, get as much money as possible. Now, where I think things need to change is maybe in the tampering side of things and in the transfer portal and guys going somewhere specifically for an NIL value. Things that may have been going on in college football, for the last 100 years anyways, but they've happened under the table. They're a little bit more out in the open. So I would say to kind of just get some more unification on there. But again, I'm never going to complain about student athletes getting paid and whatever the number is. I think that's great. I think the tampering thing, and I kind of know just being a former athlete and having guys on the inside who maybe have trained from universities, that there is some of that going on out there. And I don't think that's right at all. I don't think NIL should be used as a recruiting tool to come somewhere, because ultimately I went to Syracuse based on trying to get that great degree. And, I'm thankful I did that. So I think there's other things that need to come into play. But yeah, like I said, as much money as the athletes can get, let them have it. We work with national brands, so we're not doing anything really on the local side here. We're just strictly trying to provide athletes an opportunity to get into national endorsement deals.
And you said it, the tampering side of it, that's wrong, and using the money of NIL to bring somebody there. That brings me into the collective, right? Where in the past, a booster couldn't walk up to Aaron Hackett at Syracuse and shake your hand with $1,000 in it. But now a booster can put $1,000 into an account, and that account can be used to recruit you. So it's not any different than what would be an NCAA violation in the past. So what are your thoughts on collectives? Because some coaches, like when I was at ACC Kickoff, talked about it openly, said, let's get money in the collective. They said that, they literally stood on stage and said, we got to get our people involved in putting money in the collective. So what are your thoughts on the fact that, if you, me, and 3 other people were boosters and we're all millionaires and we decide to contribute $1 million a piece, and then we just go, hey, Syracuse, here's $5 million. We're going to put it into an account, use it how you need to. And the fact that really has no restriction at all, that $5 million can be dispersed.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to the point where it's the more money to the players, the better, right? We've been stripped of our name, image, and likeness for so long. You know what I mean? Think about back to Terrell Pryor getting free tattoos and signing autographs, and him getting suspended for a whole year, having to enter the supplemental draft and basically ruin his career. Like there's been serious sanctions that have gone on over the last 100 years. So I would say, again, the more money to the players, the better. Now, I don't think that the schools should probably be involved. And I think outside of the coaches, it should be, it should go outside of there. Yeah. But again, like as long as there's no tampering, I think it's a great opportunity. Listen, I've had teammates at Syracuse get their stipend check and send half of it or more directly home. I've had roommates who have had to do it, right? Like guys who come from seriously hard situations, and an extra $1,000, extra $2,000, extra $3,000 a month would make a huge difference for guys like that. And why should we be able to enjoy these guys every Saturday? And all the money's not going to them. They're the ones putting their bodies on the line. Ultimately, they're the ones suffering, lifelong damage, most likely, for the game they love. And like you said, everyone wants to go, oh, well, they get a free education. Well, I promise you that as things happen and it doesn't always turn out to be free, or guys don't always get their degree. And I think, at least from a monetary standpoint, I would love to see as many athletes get paid as possible while they're in their prime. Less than 3% of college football players make it to the NFL. That transition, that pivot from being a football player to something else is extremely hard. So to have some extra money in the bank, I would say all for it.
And you experience firsthand that a school will use you as much as you're useful to them. And then when you're not useful to them, you're out in the open. And that, in that sense of it, experiencing that makes you even want name, image, and likeness more, to say, well, if I'm only good for you for the few years that you want me here, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, if that's the use that you have, like you said, selling, this isn't 4 years, this is 40 years. If that's not the case and that's not the truth, and we see that all over the country, right? Where you come in and you're the star running back, and after the 4 years that you're the star running back, you don't matter anymore. Some schools are really good at keeping that.
Some schools are really good at keeping that, and there's others that aren't. And I agree with you. And there's some schools who, reach back out to their alumni. And I'm a fresh alumni at Syracuse, so I'm not saying one way or the other. But there's some schools who really put an emphasis on alumni and really thankful for the guys who gave their body and their time to that university, and will always celebrate them. And then there's other ones who kind of will pretend you didn't exist, or you left on your own terms or something like that. So absolutely.
And in that case, it even more so hits with name, image, and likeness, saying, okay, well, let's say it's your son or your daughter, and let's paint a picture here, right? So let's say to Jim and Jill Smith that your daughter is playing on the women's basketball team, and they tell her, oh, you're going to be with us forever, and we care about you forever, and we get your degree, yada, yada, yada. And she can't get an NIL deal, but let's say she's one of the top 4 players in women's basketball in the entire country, and they're making money like a UConn, making money off of her. And at the end of it all, she got nothing for it. And then the university was like, well, whatever. After 3 years, we're bringing in somebody else, so why don't you transfer? Going to her story and liking it to your story in respect here, looking at that story itself, they got hundreds of thousands, they got thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars off of her. And now that she's gone, they'll continue to talk about her. They'll continue to sell jerseys. They might continue to put something out there, but she's never going to make any money off of that. I'm a proponent that if I came to Syracuse, if I came to Florida State, if I came to Miami, wherever I was, and I wore number 21 and I went out on the field or I went out on the court for you, I should be making that money. Tortora should be on the back of that jersey, because everybody knows why you bought it. If you bought that jersey within the last 4 years and on that basketball court and it was 21, we know it was me. So at least, 5%, 10%, something, because like you said, the percentage is so tiny. So that's the only time I have to make it. Because let's say I play at Syracuse, I wear 21, I got 4 years, the NBA doesn't take me, I go to the G League for a little bit, I play overseas, and then I come home, and at 30, 32 years old, I have to start my life over. Not start my life over, but I have to go into this other chapter. Well, what happened with all the hundreds of thousands of dollars that Syracuse made off of my jerseys? I would want that, because if I never got to the NBA and I never got that $25 million contract, that $100 million contract, then that $2,000 is going to mean a hell of a lot more to me and my family that I could have gotten when I was 19 years old.
Absolutely. And that's the great thing about NIL, is that those opportunities are now there, at least from a marketing standpoint of that. You know what I mean? it doesn't matter who the boosters are at your school. It doesn't matter if you play big time college football or basketball. Like if you're an athlete and you have some sort of social media following, like we will get you in deals. We will get you paid. And I think that's the great aspect of it is, like you said, like athletes can now put out their own jerseys, their own merchandise. Shout out my boy Chris Elmore, because I definitely got to get some of that fullback, tight end, O-line, what he's got going. That's fire. So I love the Rhino. But yeah, I mean, I just think that we're in a new era of college football, and we're seeing a lot of change. Like if you want to talk about money, like when will we ever thought that USC and UCLA would come over to the Big Ten? And at the end of the day, it boils down to TV money and what's going on. So people still outside the athletes aren't getting paid. Like the athletes aren't really touching any of that TV deal too either. I hope they do down the line, and I hope that gets negotiated eventually. But as of now, these multi-$100 million TV deals, athletes aren't touching any of that either.
Well, that's the thing is the student athlete is making the program money, which is making the department money, which is making the school money, which is making the community money. So if they don't see that money, but you took them out of it, and this is what I tell people all the time, name, image, and likeness has a lot of problems because it has no restrictions, and it was put out into the world without any. Okay, what I try to do in my world as I look at preconceived not preconceived, but I try to anticipate the issue to start to work on the solution. And what they did with name, image, and likeness is whether or not they thought about what could be the problems, they didn't do anything to find the solutions. That's why we're exactly where I thought we would be. I'm not surprised by anything. I was listening to a show on Sirius XM, and they said, raise your hand if you're somebody that thought it would get this bad. And I was like, who wouldn't? You know,
what's bad about it? Like, I just don't understand what is so bad. I guess that teams and culture are changing and the change. But again, like, I see no problem from my perspective of these athletes getting paid because I know what we've been through. I've just been through it. I know the situations that my teammates have been through. And it's like, at the end of the day, if they can help themselves and help their families any little bit, that's the most valuable thing. These are the guys going on the field. They're going to battle. Conference realignment, like there's tradition and everything involved. And I know, but people talk about it like from this horrible standpoint. And what I see is that young men and women are getting paid across the country who deserve it. And that's why I love NIL.
Yeah. And what I'm talking about with the problem is that if it's left up to states, you have 50 different states that could have 50 different plans. And on top of that, what we've talked about with it being used as a recruiting tool and name, image, and likeness being used is like if you come to Florida State and let's say the head coach has a buddy that runs a Ford dealership and he's like, hey, why don't you come meet with us on campus at 3:00 and tell him if he comes here, he'll get $100,000 just for signing with us. So it's when it's used in recruiting, it's when it's used as an advantage, and it's where the haves will continue to have and the have-nots will continue to have not. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with a student athlete making money because we've agreed on that. It's the tampering, it's the involvement of boosters, and it's all the things that can come from that where, let's say you're at Syracuse and you're the starting tight end. So the Toyota dealership pays you $150,000. Then Dino decides to bench you because he would rather play Luke Benson, right? So then the dealership comes back to you and says, well, every commercial break that we have during an SU game, we're showing Aaron Hackett's face for $150,000, and he's not playing. He's sitting on the bench. He hasn't played in 3 games. So now they want to pull it from you and give it to Luke. So now you and Luke are going back and forth.
But they can't. They can't do that. And that's the great thing about it is like if you want to invest 9 point whatever to an athlete coming to school and they bust, like you got to pay him that money if it happens or not. So that's like the good thing about it is like if Toyota wanted to give me a brand new truck when I was at Syracuse, I would have loved to have that. And I think I would have deserved it, because even if they take it away, that's still in the deal that I'm getting that car. And I think that's like what a lot of people don't understand. And it causes some friction in the locker room. I could definitely see that. Especially some of the numbers are just so gaudy that it's like, hey, is this even sustainable? You know what I mean? But even locally, like, hey, you want to support, you're a booster and you want to support Syracuse football. I mean, you could continue to give donations to build, brand new facilities and everything. And that's great. But I bet you a lot of these guys who are playing on the team could use $500, $1,000 each month. And I promise you the money that they're getting is going to, it's going to benefit them more than it would going to the weight room. We've got a plenty nice weight room.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is you talk about it, you're not the first student athlete and at Syracuse to talk about the fact that you send, people that send the checks home when you get stipends for this and they think, oh, well, you're getting a free education and you're getting a stipend. It's like, well, I'm getting a free education that my family would never be able to afford. And I'm sending the stipend home to my family that doesn't have any money. So I might be coming to school being poor. I might be a Division I student athlete making absolutely nothing. And yeah, I'm getting an education, but this was the only way for me to get to school. And my parents couldn't afford to send me here. I know that if I want to go to Syracuse right now and not be a student athlete, my parents couldn't afford it. I mean,
and I'm in that boat right now. I only had to pay for a semester, but yeah, like it's expensive. And, that definitely goes into it is that, hey, like these opportunities wouldn't have been available without sport. And I don't think I would have been able to go to Syracuse without sport. But I would say a majority of the athletes across the country aren't getting paid. And hey, look, if they kick you out the door, it was a free education until they kicked you out the door. And when you try to come back, you're paying the same price everyone else is, sticker price. So.
Well, and that's the thing. I think there needs to be rules and regulations, as with anything, to name, image, and likeness, and they have to have the right people doing it. I think that bringing student athletes that had like former student athletes in and forming a committee where they get to help make the decisions because they've been through it, because I don't believe that people should be making decisions for people that they don't understand, right? Like they talk about it all the time. Like, is every cop bad? No. When you go into a neighborhood, when you're a cop in a neighborhood that you don't know, that you've never been a part of, that you don't understand, then there could be mistakes being made there. If now I would think, was I a student athlete? No. Was I recruited D3 to play basketball? Yes. Did I play as a student athlete? No. Was I paid as a student athlete? No. Was I Division I? No. But I hang around all of you enough and have spent so many years with you that I feel like on a committee, because I've listened to you for so long and I'm open to this, I feel like I could be an exception to the rule. But if I was sitting on a committee and I was making decisions on NIL for the entire country, I wouldn't want it to just be me, like people that weren't student athletes. I would say, okay, if I'm sitting on this committee, then Aaron needs to sit on this committee. Dungy needs to sit on this committee. Sean Tucker needs to sit on this committee. Like I would want to be with people because I feel that I'm well-versed. And if I'm not, I would be, but I'm passionate about it. And I know the difference between if you love it or if you think you love it. So I think there can be people on that committee, but I think that when that committee is formed, which needs to be formed, and that NIL committee is here in this world, which I think should look at the universal picture, you have to have student athletes there because you've been through it, you've seen it, you've dealt with it. And if I was sitting on the committee, I would look at you and say, well, Aaron, we're talking about this today and you've been through this. So why don't you enlighten me so that I can understand? Because the world we live in today, it's so problematic because people don't say, I don't have the answer, but he does, she does. So let me ask them. We say, I don't have the answer, so I'll just make one up. Nobody wants to get the answer from anybody else because nobody wants to be the not smartest person in the room, where I would have no problem going, Aaron, you know what it's like to go through this. Take the stage, talk about it, and let's figure it out together.
Yeah, and absolutely. That's why I'm so thankful that I was able to just kind of run into post game and start working here, is because like I've been able to, be put in a position, obviously the director of athlete relations, where I can kind of have those influences and say like, hey, this is what it's like going in as a student athlete. Like this next month, obviously fall camp is starting. Like, hey, the football guys are going to be really hard to reach. So we want to do the campaigns. Let's make sure we do everything possible to make that easier on them or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? And I think dealing in the world of college athletics, the athletes do have a voice, but they don't have enough of a voice. And ultimately, we're the ones playing at the end of the day. There's some great committees who allow student athletes to get their inputs going on. But with NIL and everything included, would love to have the athlete's perspective. DT, if you end up running the NCAA one day, man, I'll be on your short list. You just give me a call, we'll get things figured out.
I would love, the opportunity to really be one of the people that's helping to make these decisions, because I've seen the coach's side and I've seen the coach's loophole. I've seen the student athlete side. I've seen the student athlete loophole, and I've seen schools make it. But the reality of it all is this to me, and this is something that I am not naive to, and I think that people need to stop doing this. And that is the fact that schools make money from, yes, having rich donors that are alumni, but schools make a lot of money beyond having like, let's say you're a school that doesn't have football, like my alma mater, Marywood University, doesn't, but they may have a few donors that are millionaires, right? That can give a lot of money. But more often than not, your student athletes who play the game, who build that program up, and those coaches who build the game and that program up, and all those people that work together that build the game and build that program up, to get those championships, they're the ones that put butts in the seats. They're the ones that help you to be relevant, and they're the ones that make you the money. We talk about academics, and academics is great, and academics is necessary. And I feel like uneducated people in today's America are why we have so many problems. But to be educated is one thing, and to also educate yourself on the fact that your school, more often than not, around this entire country, whatever division you play in and whatever you're doing, your school is directly affected by the student athletes that affect those programs, that affect those fans, that put butts in the seats, that buy the jerseys, that buy the hot dogs, that buy the beers, and that eventually goes back to the school. So without student athletes and without an athletic department, a lot of these colleges and universities would fold. So yes, it is a dance between being academically sound and athletically sound, but you would be crazy to think that a lot of these schools would survive without athletics. And if they wouldn't survive without it, then you need to start treating the people within it correctly.
Yeah, that's a great point to finish. Like, absolutely. And I think that, being an alumni, like there needs to be people who are, reaching out and like, hey, I honestly think that, the future of Syracuse football, where it goes or where it lays, a lot of it is dependent on NIL. And, at that level, can we get guys deals? Can we get them involved? Can we teach them about their brands? And I see the media team doing a lot of creative things in terms of like videography and stuff like that. And I know they always have a great creative team, but just informing guys about NIL, you know what I mean? And, how to get marketing deals, whether or not to sign with an agent, stuff like that is imperative. And now that money's getting in the players' hands, I think that it's needed.
Yeah, and I think we definitely have to take a good hard look at all of this and see the value of what we can do, and obviously learn and grow together. So a final note here from you, Aaron, why somebody should work with Postgame. If I'm a brand, tell me why. If I'm a student athlete, tell me why.
Yeah, so from a brand perspective, we have over 60,000 student athletes on our platform who are more than ready to get themselves involved in NIL with branding opportunities and everything like that. For the athletes, I would just say, we're free to use. We don't take commission. We have an app that's super simple. We get you deals. We're doing some of the largest NIL deals in history. The one we're doing with Crocs right now is certainly one of the largest in terms of how many players we have into it. And we have some campaigns launching right now with some major brands that are going to make some noise in the next few weeks. So definitely stay tuned. The content from the Crocs campaigns are going to be great, but there's some really big news heading up in these next couple of weeks. And I look forward to sharing it with you guys. And again, go SU. I'm an Orangeman for life. So always bleed orange.
Aaron Hackett, Syracuse Orange, Kent State alum, as well as working at Postgame now, doing NIL the right way. This is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from the Cafe Kubal Studios, and we'll be back momentarily after this fast break. Aaron, as always, thank you.
Thank you. Love it.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our wake-up call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Syracuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Witty Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway. PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Hope you're having yourselves a tremendous morning this morning, and hopefully you're staying safe, staying well, and enjoying beautiful weather wherever you are in central and upstate New York, and of course across this beautiful country of ours. I want to thank you all for being here with us and hanging out with us where sports truly meets that thing called life. I can't thank you enough for being a part of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and spending some quality time with us. So much appreciated, and always thankful to have you here inside of these Cafe Kubal studios. Of course, Cafe Kubal is on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, and inside of their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, where it looks like coffee being poured. Very awesome place. And of course, on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners for their drive-through location. So make sure you head out there today. I also want to give a very big thank you to Witty Wicks, as you see them all throughout our studio here. You see the 315 Home Sweet Home sign. This sign means a lot to me because this is where I grew up. You know, this is what has meant so much to me. I've never changed my phone number area code because, you know, my hometown means the world to me. So the 315, I came back here to start my business. I came back here to spend time with my grandmothers while they were still alive, to be closer to my parents. So the 315 has a lot of meaning to me, and I appreciate it. So big ups to the 315. Make sure you go and get your 315 signs today at Witty Wicks exclusively. And of course, you can go 315, get the Syracuse pillow, the Cuse Home Sweet Home pillow, and all of the wonderful things they have, including these beauties. They have them in all different shapes and sizes here. So you can get the small, you can get the bigger version here. There's a mid-ranger. And I think they should make a colossal candle because I'm just ready for my windows wide open. And my Summer and Cuse, this is the newest one that I got. And it smells very unique. It's got a little orange on top of it when you get it. So you can actually get these now. You can get summer, autumn, winter, and spring in Cuse. All four of those are now in a set. They're online on wittywicks.com. And they're available at the store at Township Boulevard on 190 Township Boulevard there in Township 5 in Camillus. So you can either go to the store or you can go online and get all 4 seasons Cuse smells in a package deal, $24. So really good stuff there. That's $6 a candle. So make sure you go out and grab those today, and definitely appreciate having them here, upping the ambiance that we have inside of our Cafe Kubal studios. We always like adding to it. There's a lot of things that we have behind us here. We're constantly adding and growing. We have our Christy Martin pieces here to celebrate her amazing story and everything she's done, and making the Hall of Fame and just being alive. Love it. She's got a message here to me. It says, to Dan, keep punching. So we got my little sister Fran that is here, and big shout out to Fran Tortora and the amazing class that she has brought to the game, and just everything she's been as a human being. So we got the Wolf, we got her signature, and we got the Wolf number 21. And these are her days playing at CNS, and obviously she brought a sectional championship there. Could have had the opportunity to bring a state title, but that year they weren't playing state titles, so everything ended in the sectional. So shout out to Fran and her amazing job, and all of her teammates and Molly and everything. And big shout out to Aaron Hackett, who just sent me a message here and said, thanks for having me, DT. Hey, thank you for telling your story, brother. You know, I mean, I'm always blown away when somebody says thank you for letting me be on the show, where, you know, in my head, it's my job to go out and find those people and bring them on. So, you know, I should be thanking you, Aaron, but you're welcome. And, you know, I got a lot of respect, a lot of love for you, brother. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe down in Venice, and keep doing your thing, man. Keep helping people do name, image, and likeness the right way, and let's help some kids, and let's do some good things here. So definitely appreciate that and all the work that you're doing, and look forward to seeing you hopefully sometime soon, and hopefully we got something cool coming down the pipeline here very soon. So with that being said, we're going to hop into the ingredients to success. Very excited to do this every Tuesday to round out the show around, I always say around 10:50 a.m. Eastern time. It always ends up being at 11, because we always run past 11 o'clock. So it's just, you know, that's the beauty of owning my own show, right? We get to continue to have the conversation with you. So yeah, I'm always very thankful to have you here, and always looking forward to the ingredients to success. So this is a positive segment, as you know, everything we do here is based in positivity, rooted in faith and community, and just, you know, spreading cheer and good vibes and happiness. Now, that doesn't mean we don't talk about tough subjects, and it doesn't mean we don't dive into things that are difficult. It just means that we try to, you know, always find a positive, right? Always find something that can help you out, help me out, help us out, because, you know, it's all about helping each other. Listen, nobody has an easy road, and everybody goes through adversity at some point. And, you know, I've come to know that we really do have to go through adversity in order to make it all worth it, right? You know, because without adversity, how do we truly know who we are? So the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's, the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. I am ecstatic about getting to go to Avicolli's tonight at 6 p.m. because I always go over there and get listen, they have so many great things, but I am hooked on their barbecue chicken pizza. Yes on yes on yes. I am a massive fan of the barbecue chicken pizza all day, day. I just got it a couple days ago. On the way to the Boehm's Army game, I went and picked up a couple slices on Saturday. Got my barbecue chicken pizza. Probably going to get that tonight. Maybe some wings. We'll see how I feel. But always love getting out to Avicolli's. Fantastic food, serving our community for decades. They love being here. We love having them. And I'm just a huge fan of Avicolli's. And I love the fact that we get to do our exclusive Liverpool Warriors content on site, on location at Avicolli's. And we've done that for years. So thanks to John and Nick and the entire team over there for having us, and for believing in our vision and our mission, and for bringing those things together. So very much looking forward to everything that we'll do tonight in our Liverpool Leadership Lounge with Dan Henner and Ari Lieberman. Come and see us at 6 o'clock. And everything that we continue to do with Avicolli's, including the ingredients to success, every Tuesday to round out the show. So let's hop into it. Faith like lightning. Now, I know that those of you that are comic book fans like me, you know justice like lightning, right? And I believe that is the Thunderbolts that say that. So But mine is a little bit different here. Faith like lightning. What do I mean by that, right? What is it about? What is this topic, faith like lightning? Well, what I mean by that, folks, is that we need to have strength, right, in faith. And I kind of just say faith like lightning because, it just, honestly, to me, it sounds strong, and it sounds, mighty full. But, really today's topic is faith, right? Do you have it? Do you have it in yourself? Do you have it in each other? Do you have it in the community? Do you have it in the country? Do you have it in the world? Do you have it in God above all things? And on my show, as I always say, listen, you could be Catholic, any type of Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, and on and on and on and on and on, right? Baptist, Episcopalian, whatever. Whatever you are, you're welcome to be here on the show. And as I respect you and I welcome you, I hope that you respect me and welcome me into, your time as well, because we can have conversations and they can be different. And some of my closest friends have different religions, same God, different religion. And, so faith, it's important to me. And why is it so important to me to talk about it today? Because I've always been a person of faith. I've always believed in God. But in the world we live in today, I feel like I have to shut up about it. And I caught myself at times today, yesterday, saying things going like, is that forced? Did I want to say that? Am I okay saying that? And I felt uncomfortable. And I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to say uncomfortable, but I felt kind of like I wasn't saying it the way that I really wanted to say it. And I don't like that, right? I think that I have every right to be who I am and you have every right to be who you are. And, people that know me know that I have a rule. And that rule is if you are a good person and you are good to people, then, be who you want to be, right? If you're a good person and you're good to people, then, that's what ultimately matters to me, is how you treat people and who you are, right? That's what matters, because we're different. A lot of us are different, and and everybody. Well, I mean, honestly, everybody's different. And I say that, I've said it on the show before, is the fact that, you look at the world and you say, well, Dan, how is everybody different? What about identical twins? And I bring this up on the show all the time. They have different personalities. I've met people and they're different, right? They have different personalities. They have different tendencies. They have different facial things that they do. Even if it's just minute, there's something about them that makes them different, intrinsically different. And, I love that. And I love that as an example because we're not all the same. And, not even identical twins are identical. They might be identical physically, but beyond that, they're not. And, I think that is, the true beauty of God and the true majesty of God is that even twins aren't completely the same. So, faith like lightning, how do you have it? How do you have it in today's world where people want you to shut up about it, right? And I think it's so ironic in today's world that everybody wants to talk, but nobody wants to listen. And I speak for a living, and I spend a lot of my time listening, right? You speak for a living, but you listen, right? You can't ask a question unless you're listening, right? You gotta pay attention. And can I be a better listener? Can I do a better job listening? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that we can always learn from each other. And I just think it's crazy that people that have no faith want everybody to listen to them and listen how there's no God and God doesn't exist and we're all going to die and nothing's going to happen. But they want everybody to shut up that believes in God and believes that when we die, something will happen and it'll be beautiful and it'll be better than here and we'll get to see our loved ones again. And I'll never forget that somebody said to me, and I was in my studio, right? I was in my studio. Not in my studio when this happened, but came down and did a show after hearing these words. And I was dating a girl years ago, and she said to me, she tried to destroy every pillar of my foundation. And she said, I love how people like you lean on God like a crutch. God doesn't exist, but you have him in your life because you need something to lean on because you can't handle life. And I think that that's hilarious because I think we all lean on something at some point. Some people lean on things that are not healthy. Some people lean on family. Some people lean on friends. Some people lean on drugs. Some people lean on alcohol. I would not recommend those two things at all. Some people lean on physical. I wouldn't recommend that, because there's hollow endings to those. But when you lean on God, I don't think you're ever let down. And people say, well, Dan, yes, you are, because God doesn't answer every prayer. It's true. If God answered everybody that I wanted to marry, I don't know what my life would have looked like. I really don't. And I don't miss it. There was a girl I had a crush on in high school, and to this day, I can't tell you 7 things I know about her. I know she had blonde hair. I know her name. I know that I like when there was something about her that I just liked, but I can't honestly tell you anything about her personality. I can't tell you anything about her dreams and aspirations. I can't tell you anything about her faith. I can't tell you anything about what matters most to her. I can't tell you anything about her family. And I didn't know then, and I don't know now. It was a crush. Oh, wow, she's pretty. That was it. And it was very one-dimensional. Right? It was very on the surface. And so, I think if God had listened to me and let me marry her, I don't even know who I would have married, right? I mean, and obviously I would have gotten to know her over time, but would I wanted to marry her once I had gotten to know her? And I think that, we're so quick to not give God credit, but then we're so fast to blame him. And people that don't want you to believe in God, what's the first thing that comes out of their mouth? Well, if God exists, then why do people die? Why is there cancer? Why is there COVID? Why is there a war in Ukraine? And I don't know why there's cancer, okay? Mutations of things. And so, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. Why does it exist? I don't know why it exists. I don't. I don't know why it has to. I don't think it has to. I don't think it should. Okay? Why are spiders here? Because they kill mosquitoes. Well, I don't like either. Okay, well, one of them kills the other. So if there were no spiders, there would be more mosquitoes. So you can thank spiders. What do you want me to say? Why do mosquitoes exist? I don't know. One of the first questions I'm going to ask God when I hopefully get to heaven. I'm going to say, God, I know that spiders kill mosquitoes. I know this does this and this does that, but I still haven't found a reason why mosquitoes exist outside of drinking our blood, making us itch, and spreading disease. So, but maybe God says they exist to be food to other insects. Maybe that's one of the reasons, right? So, but I really want to be on my show, right? And sit here and be me and tell you, because I say it all the time, right? Be who you want to be. Love who you want to love. Do what you want to do. Act how you want to act. But then I sit here in my chair, in my studio, and I'm like, can I talk about God? Do I feel safe? What if somebody said, what if somebody in business says this? What if one of my listeners says that? What if I turn somebody up? I don't care. People say things all the time that I don't like. I listen to people talk sometimes and I'm like, where did you get this information, and what inside of you believes that any of this is real? Who told you this, and why did you believe it? I had a friend that every conversation we had over the last couple of years became him trying to find something wrong with me, him trying to bait me, him trying to prove that I was doing something that wasn't good, trying to find something inside of me that was prejudice or hateful or wrong. Just constantly trying to bait me into making a mistake. And those people exist everywhere. But why can't I talk about God? If you can talk about hateful things, and you can be a mean person, and you can be hypocritical and sexist and racist and prejudiced and do all these horrible things to people, then why can't I talk about something that's positive? Why is that a problem? Why does that offend people? I love God. Exclamation point. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. To infinity and beyond. So, my ingredients to success today, faith. Have it. Okay? I don't know how people exist without faith. How can you live without faith? How can you live not believing in yourself, believing in other people? Faith, belief without evidence. Listen, Dino Babers has done some things that I agree with and some things that I don't. But one of the things that he said, the thing that I remember most about him, and that I'll probably always remember most about him, is that he said we have to have faith, belief without evidence. We have to have faith, belief without evidence. We have to believe in something, even if we don't see it right away, right? Now people say, Dan, prove to me that God exists. Prove it. I can prove it. I've had multiple near-death experiences. There's a lot of different things that have happened in my life that show me that God was here the whole time. God was here in my weakest moments. God was here in my most sinful moments. God was here in my best moments. God was here in my most faithful moments. You can't make somebody believe in God, but you shouldn't try to make somebody not. And my ingredients to success to you today is if you're faithful, stay strong. Stay strong, stay connected in your faith. It is so crazy that in today's world, somebody will scream at you their beliefs, tell you that their beliefs are fact, their beliefs are true, and nobody can stop them from believing what they want to believe, and nobody can shut them up. And then as soon as you open your mouth, they tell you to shut up, that your beliefs aren't real, that you don't matter, and that nothing you say matters. How crazy society is that the people that are screaming at the top of their lungs to be heard, to be noticed, and for people to accept them are the ones that are shutting everybody up, telling them that they're not accepted. See, but when you leave things to people, that's where you get lost. Because people will let you down. The more people you know, somebody's going to let you down. We've all had relationships where something went awry. We've all had relationships where something didn't make sense. It could be business, it could be personal, it could be anything. We have all been in a relationship before where somebody has done something or said something that we think is wrong, but they think is right. Where people didn't apologize. Where people didn't come through on what they said they were going to do. And when you put all of your faith in people and none of it in God, and you treat it like, well, God doesn't exist, he's just a crutch. He's not a crutch. God is not a crutch. And why do I say he to all the people that want to pull that apart? It's in the Bible of he. Now, do I think God has a sex? No. Do I think God has a certain appendage or not? No, I don't. Okay? I don't. To me, God is everything. And I'm so tired of coming onto my show wondering what I can and cannot say. And if I'm going to offend you, right? If you're never going to listen to my show again, if you're going to click off, if you're going to unlike the page, do it. Because as long as God doesn't unlike my page, I'm good. As long as God doesn't unfriend me, I'm good. As long as God still views what I'm doing, I'm good. This world of do what I tell you to do, or else we're going to have a problem. What type of world is that? What type of society is that? Do what I want you to do, or you and I have a problem. That's us now? That's society now? Do what I want you to do, or we're not friends. Say what I want you to say, or I don't like you. I don't want that. But see, we've lost our faith as a society. As a society, we don't want to talk about God. We turn our back on God. Because why? God makes us feel bad. When we sin, we don't want to feel bad. When we do hateful things, we don't want to feel bad. Well, who makes us feel bad? Well, God makes us feel bad. No. You make yourself feel bad. Because I'm a firm believer that no matter what, inside of all of us, we know right from wrong. Inside of all of us, deep down inside, we have that voice. God is in each and every single one of us, and God tells us when it's right and when it's wrong. There's something inside of you that speaks. Well, Dan, what if people are raised this way? What if this, what if that? Yeah, okay. But something inside of them is there. And how do I know that? Because there were people that weren't even raised by parents. They're some of the best people that I know. There are people that had parents that left them, ignored them, deprived them of love, and they're some of the best people I know. So I'm not a person who says, okay, well, you're just a victim to your environment, period. I didn't have some of the figures in my life that I wanted. I didn't. I was raised by some, and by others, I was ignored. I wasn't loved. I wasn't treated well. Am I treated better now by those people? Yeah. But growing up as a kid, if I didn't have a backbone and a faith in God, I don't know if I would have given up or not. And that's the sad part, right? You look at somebody who takes their own life. You look at somebody who is depressed. You look at somebody who just looks like they're really off. And you say, oh, they're crazy. Oh, they're weird. Or how could they do that? But you don't look at the pain that they felt and where that pain came from. It's never right to take your own life. It's never right to take somebody else's life. And it's never right to just sit in your depression and let it consume you into a black hole. That's never right. But why aren't we asking the questions of how the people got here? And why aren't you asking the question of how you got there? If you're in a relationship and you're with a good person and you keep hurting that good person and that good person keeps telling you to stop and that good person reaches a limit, why do you yell at that person? Why do you say to that person, get over it? Why do you say to that person, either you accept the fact that I hurt you and move on, or we're not going to work? Why do people that hold the gun always want to yell at the person that they shot? There's two things wrong with that. Why are you holding a weapon in a relationship? And there's three things. Why are you holding the weapon? Why are you using the weapon? And why are you blaming the person that you use the weapon on? I can't tell you how many relationships where somebody has figuratively stabbed me through the heart or in the back or both. And then they sit there and they yell at you, or they're silent in an expectation that you will apologize for being stabbed. You're saying sorry to them that you're bleeding out. And I know that if that's how a person acts, there's something wrong with them. There's something that's happened to them that's not been worked out. And I know that there's pain there. But you can't just pass on your pain. And I find it crazy in this world that the more and more we don't believe in God, the more and more we try to get rid of God, the more and more we say God doesn't exist, the worse and worse society gets. This world is hurling itself totally off course. And a direct connection to that is saying that there's no God. Right? You keep taking God out of stuff and there's more shootings. You keep ignoring God and ignoring the sanctity of life and ignoring the importance of appreciating and loving your neighbor. And look at us. And the people that tell you to love them are the same people sometimes that are spreading horrible hate and smut. Some people that say that they stand for equality for all, and then they say, except you. Equality for all, except you. Except you. Except you. If you only put your faith in people, you will be disappointed. Now, I'm not saying to not have faith. And I'm not saying to love each other. And I'm not saying to give each other chances. I'm saying, how do you live a life where God isn't a part of it? And you expect to have the best life possible. Some of the people that I have seen be the meanest, most selfish, there is a direct correlation between the people that I know that are selfish, hateful, self-centered, egocentric, rude, hypocritical, and naive, and ignorant, and illogical, and irrational. People that I've talked to that have been the most illogical, irrational, hateful, self-centric, selfish, self-loathing people are people that don't have a strong faith. Now, that doesn't mean that people that claim to have a faith aren't selfish and egotistical and all these things. But it's one thing to say you're going to do something, and it's another thing to do it. And I don't know how to live my life without faith. I love God. I love God. I would never have been here today celebrating my 10-year anniversary of my company without God. I wouldn't be. I would never be here today if I didn't have God when my father didn't raise me the way that I would if I got to be a dad. The things that he said and the things that he did and the hate that he tried to pass on to me. I wouldn't be the man I am today if I didn't have God. Where would my prayers have gone? Where would my well wishes have gone? Who would have helped me build my company? And people say, well, Dan, you did it by yourself. I know that's not true. I know that's not true. Did I do it? Humanly? A lot of it by myself as a human? Yeah. But was there something above me that was there? Yeah. If I look back on my life at 36 years and I go, wow, I've had 25,000 coincidences. Well, I must be pretty lucky. I'm tired of defending faith, but I will. And I'm tired of defending God, but I will. I don't like the fact that when I publicly talk about my life and I don't think, right? I'm just talking because it's who I am. I don't have to think about who I am because I'm not lying about it. People that lie, they have to constantly think, okay, well, I'm in front of these people, so I have to act a certain way. And I'm in front of these people, so I have to act a certain way. My thing is, if you like me, great. If you don't, great. But that's on you, not me. I'm a loving, caring person who's never deliberately wanted to hurt anybody. I don't have any bone in my body that wants to hurt people. Does that mean that I've never hurt anybody? No. But I've never wanted to cause someone pain. I've never wanted someone to have a bad life. I've never wished anything bad on anybody. Do I have moments where I am really angry and you want to hurt that person that just hurt you? Yeah, that's the human side of things. But do I ever truly want to carry out somebody having a bad life? No. Do I want to bring them pain? No. Do I want to be responsible for anything bad or negative in anybody's life? No, I don't. And because I am who I am with everybody, I don't have to stop and think about who I am. But I do know that in today's world, there are people out there that are like spies that just want to see you mess up one time so they can tell everybody. And where do you go in life if you don't have God? Who do you talk to? There's so many lost souls that I've found, and they don't have faith. The meanest people that I've ever dated didn't have a faith. And I think there's a direct correlation between their willingness and being okay with hurting me and believing that there's going to be no justice brought to that, right? When somebody thinks, hey, there's no God, I can punch Dan in the face and I'm never going to pay for it. There's not going to be karma. There's not going to be retribution. Nothing's going to ever happen, right? I'm just going to hurt good people and I'm going to step on their backs and I'm going to rise and that's it. And I'm going to be at the top of the mountain, and when I die, I'm going to be awesome. I'm going to bring all my money with me. My car is going to come with me. Everything is going to come with me. You know, people have this warped view of reality that fits their model, right? People decide who they want to be, and then they decide that if the world doesn't give it to them, then the world is wrong. The world doesn't owe you anything, right? There's not a company that I work with that owed me anything when I asked them to do business with me. There's no girl I ever dated that owed me anything. She didn't owe me a date. There's no friend that I've ever made that owed me anything, that had to be my friend. And I don't think my parents owe me anything. They choose who they want to be. And in choosing who I want to be, I believe that you can choose that God exists or choose that God doesn't exist. But when you find out the truth, are you going to be okay with the choice that you made? And so somebody would say that to me, an atheist would say that to me, well, Dan, what if God doesn't exist? If y'all got what you want someday, if an atheist is like, okay, if they got that someday, right? If I died and nothing happened, it doesn't stop the fact that I lived my life to help other people, to give to other people, to try to make this world a better place. I don't know 100% if heaven, I think I know, but have I physically like left my body, gone to heaven and came back and said, hey, I know it's there? No. Have I seen it in a dream? Yeah. Did that dream happen almost 30 years ago? And can I still tell you the dream to this day and I can still see it? Yeah. Have I seen multiple versions of heaven in daydreams and seen my dogs, Mordo and Cinnamon, playing in front of a waterfall in this yard, this green yard, running around with this giant golden house that was hovering on a cloud with a rainbow behind it? And does that all have significance? Yeah. I didn't even know about the Rainbow Bridge when I had that dream. So, can I tell you for sure anything? I think I can. But do I fully know? Fully, completely know? Have I been there recently? No. So why do I believe in heaven? Because it's a crutch? No. I believe in heaven because inside of me, I truly believe that this is a temporary stop in a long journey. That the earth is a temporary stop. And there's so many things that people believe in that you might think is crazy. And maybe you think I'm crazy. But the ingredients to success of faith is, if you have it, love that. Don't let people take who you are from you. And start to realize, if you are a person of faith, that when you're around people, start to realize the people that have no faith, that have no God. And tell me how many of those people are really genuinely good to people. Because, yeah, I mean, could there be somebody who has absolutely no faith and they're just a really nice person? Yeah, there could be. There could be. And I think, in today's day and age, everybody's like, well, you have to accept everybody. Everybody has to be accepted. You have to accept everything about everything at all times. And I don't think that's fair. Because there are things that I won't accept. I won't accept a woman marrying the Eiffel Tower, even though she allegedly did. I can accept that it happened, but I'm not going to accept it as normal. A person who says, I want to marry a lion and I want to have lion human babies, I'm not going to accept that as normal. I'm never going to accept people going out and shooting people as normal. I'm never going to accept people not working on themselves to become better and just remaining hateful, ignorant people that hurt people as normal. I'm not going to accept racism as normal. I'm not going to accept sexism and prejudice as normal. There's things that I'm never going to accept as normal. I know they exist, but they're not normal to me. And I'm not okay with them. So, when somebody says accept everything, most of the time the people that tell you to accept everything, they don't accept everything. They accept the things that they want to accept. They tell you to accept them. And hypocrisy is hilarious because it falls upon itself. Its argument always falls upon itself and breaks itself every single time. It's laughable at 36 years old how many times I've heard somebody say, accept me for who I am, but I don't accept you for who you are. And I look at them and I say, so you're asking me to do something you're not willing to do. So in essence, you're telling me to do something that you won't do. So why should I do it if you're not willing to do it? Because then essentially I'm serving you. I'm your peasant, right? I've been in relationships where people say, I want this, 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 and this, but I'm not going to give any of those things to you. Or I need these every day, and I'm going to give them to you sometimes. I never pay attention to people that say, do as I say, not as I do. Somebody who's smoking a cigarette telling you don't smoke because it'll kill you, and they're sitting there smoking right in front of you. Right? But we're supposed to say to people who eat to a gluttonous state where it's unhealthy, we're supposed to tell them that they're brave. We're supposed to tell people that are smoking and potentially killing people around them with secondhand smoke that they're brave. You're not brave smoking a cigarette. You're not brave eating 10 cheeseburgers a day. You're taking your health and you're diminishing it, and we're supposed to tell you, you're not brave if you drink alcohol profusely and you punch your spouse and you yell at your kids. You're not brave if you're an alcoholic who's calm. You're still an alcoholic. You're still killing your organs. You're still taking time off your life. That's not brave. You're not brave by telling people to love everybody who agrees with them and to hate everybody that doesn't. That's not brave. You're not brave for protecting a criminal. You're brave when you protect the innocent. You're brave when you love everyone. You're brave when you can have a conversation with someone who doesn't agree with you and you can sit there and listen to it and be respectful of them, regardless of if they're respectful of you or not. You're brave if you can keep your composure where somebody really wants you to react. You're brave when you can stand tall in your faith when the world tells you that you're not allowed to have one. My ingredients to success for you today are to stay strong in faith, because this world can have and will let you down. This world has let me down more in the last 2 years than maybe ever. But I've never lost my faith that God is here. God doesn't kill people. Guns do. Knives do. People do. Natural disasters do. Well, Dan, if there's a God, he could take the gun out of someone's hands. Yeah, he could. But he gave us free will. He loved us so much that instead of making us love him, he left us with a choice. A choice. Just like I do. I tell people that I date, if you want to leave, I'm not going to force you to stay here. I don't want a captive. I want a wife. Right? I don't force my friends to be friends with me. But if I had a nickel for every time somebody told me what I have to do to make them comfortable, I'd be a billionaire. I thought someone was my best friend. And the only thing he wants out of life is for everybody to agree with him so that he feels better about himself. And the irony is, the things he cares most about today, he never talked about 2 years ago. The rights that he stands up for now, I never heard him care about those rights before. So, I am the man that I've always been, right? Do I consider myself to be a better man today? Yeah. Do I think there's places where I can improve? 1,000,000%. But do I stand before you today saying I believed in God for 36 years? Yes. Yes. Can I tell you that I've tried to be a good person for 36 years? Yes. Can I tell you I've ever liked hurting somebody, either on accident or on purpose? No. Can I tell you that I've ever truly wished bad on somebody and wanted it to happen? No. Can I ever tell you that I've ever wanted to, as mad as I am, really have an eye for an eye? No. And can I tell you that I've tried 1,000,000 times over to try and save a relationship where the other person doesn't care for it? Every time. I've spent years trying to repair bonds with people that don't want them. So I'm not a perfect human being at all. But I can tell you that I am who I am. Now, are there things that I've grown to care about? Are there things I've grown to understand? Have I educated myself better? Do I have more knowledge and wisdom? And do I consider myself a better person in certain areas? Yes. And do I think I can work in other areas? Yes. And do I think I've been a hypocrite in certain areas? Yeah. And will I fix that? Absolutely. But I have faith. My faith doesn't lie in humanity. I have faith in us, I do. But it's not solely here. My faith doesn't lie in material goods. My faith doesn't lie in things that I can't take with me when I'm gone. My faith lies in the fact that there is a God that made me, that loves me, and that the billions of times I have not been my best and not done what I said I was going to do has always forgiven me. My knowledge, my wisdom, my goodness, my fight, nothing in this world would be possible for me without God. And I'll stand by that for the rest of my life and beyond. And just as I look into this camera today and speak into this microphone and tell you, I love you. And I want you to be yourself. I will also tell you, I love myself. And I'm going to be me no matter what. And I don't know how people are so excited to not believe in God. And why society and the media gets excited about it too. But I can tell you, the more excited we get about not having a God, the more this world just seems darker. And if I can promise you anything, my ingredients to success 36 years ago and today and 36 years from now will be to help people believe in God, try my best, do my best, and always have a strong faith. My ingredients to success for life are to stay who I am, despite the fact that the world is trying to run God out of it. Yeah, we focus more on money. Yeah, we focus more on being selfish. Yeah, we focus more on what we want and not what anybody else wants. Yeah, we want to cancel culture people, but we don't want to get canceled. Yeah, we want to quote everybody and misquote everybody and try to get everybody in trouble, but we don't want anybody to do it to us. But that's society. No matter what the world does, I always have God. Call it my crutch. Call it my way of dealing with life. Call it the non-existent thing that I need to pretend exists so I can get by. And I'll call it the only thing that matters when push comes to shove. We'll take a step aside for our final fast break. We'll be back to wrap up Wake Up Call inside the Cafe Kubal studios right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacted the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out where sports meets that thing called life. Want to thank you for being a part of the Cafe Kubal studios. We're heading toward almost 3 hours this morning. We were able to bring you some initial reaction thoughts from me from ACC Kickoff and what Commissioner Jim Phillips had to say. We have barely scratched the surface. I want you to understand that. We have barely scratched the surface. I will be airing my conversations with every single one of the 14 member schools of the ACC, all of the head coaches, student athletes from every single school, plus Commissioner Jim Phillips. You don't want to miss a minute of that. So many great things coming up. And of course, I have the opportunity of sharing some incredible time with the Director of Communications from the Cotton Bowl Classic, that being Scotty Rogers, coming up this Thursday as we spend some time together at ACC Kickoff. And we have a fantastic conversation about a lot of great things. I want to thank Aaron Hackett for telling his exclusive story about what really went down when he was at Syracuse, about the woes of trying to transfer, of having to pay for part of his education, which we never think that student athletes have to do at the D1 level, right? And also showing that beyond all of this and everything that he's been through, he still has love for Syracuse and loves the fans, and that he didn't intend to leave, that's where he intended to stay, right? But that he felt forced out. And will also, and then also everything going on with what he's doing with postgame down in Florida to bond brands with over 60,000 student athletes across the country to do name, image, and likeness the right way, in his opinion. So great to get his perspective on name, image, and likeness. This special with him is going to be available to you very soon on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So click subscribe now and be ready for it so you can go directly to it. And thank you to Avicolli's for the ingredients to success, giving me an opportunity to share about my life and what matters to me and how important faith is, and that you're not alone. So God bless to that. And we'll be at Avicolli's tonight, so come out and see us at 6 o'clock for the Liverpool Leadership Lounge. Tune in live every Monday through Friday to Wake Up Call from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.com and on Facebook.com / Live Now DT. So don't miss a moment of us live. Once we go live, we go into the archives all over the world. You can go to any one of these apps and you can get our show. You can go to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, TuneIn, Podvine, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. All you have to do is on any one of these outlets, search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or Wake Up Call DT. It's free, and you will get our archive constantly updating itself on any one of these avenues. You can also ask Amazon and you can ask your Alexa devices through Amazon as well as your Google devices to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they will do that for you as well. Thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond. Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Witty Wicks, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicolli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, Victory Sports Medicine Orthopedics, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, and Mother's Cupboard. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's fins up all day, day. And you can find our Dolphins. We have taken a few weeks off here, but we're back at it in August, which is literally next week. So we'll be back at it and very excited to do that. AD and DT happening every Wednesday, first and third Wednesday, I should say, of each month. We have AD and DT every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time during Dolphin Time. Every second and fourth Wednesday during Dolphin Time, we have Dolphin Dive, where we dive into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. So make sure you check out all of those amazing stories. You can get them by going to the Lemoyne tab of wakeupcalldt.com for our archive, as well as how to click and learn more about the Lemoyne Dolphins. And of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, search our Lemoyne content on there on youtube.com / wakeupcalldt. For more information, go to lemoynedolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood University Pacers. It is Pacer Pride every single month all throughout the year, and your Pacers come to you in a way that you've never had them before right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. And so you can check out your Pacers on Fridays around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time with exclusive new content with student athletes, administration, as well as coaches. And of course, you can get all of our Marywood content in our archive, as well as how to click to learn more about Marywood by going to the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com. And for more information on your Pacers, go to marywoodpacers.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And the Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month. And we just had our newest edition of the Bobcat Buzz as Clay Gagan Sherman joined me for an all-out Bryan and Stratton takeover at Cafe Kubal on 324 West Water Street in Syracuse. Great to see a bunch of people coming through all throughout the broadcast, getting to see a bunch of people there supporting local with Cafe Kubal. Also some people coming over asking us what we had in store and who the guest was going to be to celebrate local sports as well. Clay Gagan Sherman having a great conversation, truly embodying Wake Up Call's moniker where sports meets life, and loved being able to sit down with him talking about Bryan and Stratton as well as the bigger picture of collegiate athletics and where we're heading right now. Always great to have the Bobcat Buzz with Nick Dimitrievsky, Clay Gagan Sherman, Dan Frasina. Shout out to all the time we've gotten to spend with him, and God bless in his next endeavor, as well as time with Tay Baker, Aaron Baker, and of course Sean Peake and Alex Gregorita. So a big shout out to the administration, the student athletes, and the coaches at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. For Bobcat Buzz, check out the archive by bookmarking the BSC SYR tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel on youtube.com / wakeupcalldt. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. thank you once again to Aaron Hackett. Thank you to Avicolli's for the ingredients to success and that barbecue chicken pizza, which is bananas awesome. And I've never said those two words together before, and I don't know why I said bananas, but I did. So there you go. There's no bananas on the pizza, but it is very good. Make sure you head out to Avicolli's today. Support local at all of our wonderful, wonderful people in Central and Upstate New York and beyond and all their businesses. It is Christmas in July week at Witty Wicks. They're having the biggest sale they've ever had with up to 50% off on select items. So head out there today, and you can also get the summer incuse, winter incuse, autumn incuse, and spring incuse. They have all 4 season candles together packaged on wittywicks.com, so you can buy anywhere in the world, and at 190 Township Boulevard in Camillus, right in front of the Movie Tavern in Township 5. You can get their packaged Witty Wicks Cuse candle set for $24, which is awesome. $6 a candle. So can't beat that. Make sure you head out there today. For now, from the Cafe Kubal studios, I bid you adieu. Thanks to Aaron Hackett for telling his exclusive. So much more to come on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Like I said, and I always say, we have barely scratched the surface on all that is to come. I'm excited to talk with you about it the rest of this week. I'll see you tonight for the Liverpool Leadership Lounge at Avicolli's at 6 p.m. with Dan Henner as well as Ari Lieberman. Can't wait to see you out there. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. See all of our awesome content there. I got to head out of the studio. We spent almost 3 hours together today. So thank you for the extra time. Thank you for staying loyal to Wake Up Call and for always being with us. Keep the faith. God bless you all. And let's see an end to the war in Ukraine. And God bless all the troops that give their lives for people that they don't even know, just to spread freedom, which should have never been